Fellas, welcome to Gavin Games. We're doing it again. This is Groundhog's Day. This is live TV. Not really, but that's how they do it. You ever been to a live taping? I saw Conan O'Brien. They did this shit. I saw WWE SmackDown. They did this shit. Anyway, the point being is welcome to the show. Welcome to Gavin Games. This is probably our fifth reboot of this particular episode, just like The Good Place. It is May 15th, 2024. We have a lot of news to get to. I want to tell you something about, briefly, getting old. Look, I have not had a problem getting older. I'm 53, no problem at all. But you know, your body gets more tired and all that bullshit. Fuck you. But I will tell you, one of the nice things about getting old or older is you forget things, and then you get to rediscover them like they're new. I was going through the office. What's it called? The bookshelf. Can't remember the word. Bookshelf last night. And I found this. Now, it's very possible that I've already shown you guys this, but I didn't remember that I owned this. This was just in a bookshelf, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's the Art of Hearthstone. Now, I used to love Hearthstone with all my heart and soul. It was my favorite fucking video game. But it was... it's gotten replaced by Activision's greed, and it also got replaced by Marvel Snap. But for a time there, this was the best video game of all time for me, right? And I'll show you the book itself. I just didn't even remember I bought the fucking thing. But it is really cool if you like that game, and I hope they make one for Marvel Snap. But this is what it actually looks like. This is some pages from the Amazon store, but check this shit out. This is really neat. Hello, this is Barry. Good to see you, buddy. Check this shit out. So, I mean, this is part where they're actually showing you first how they design the boards of the game. They get into the early days, the cards. So it's not just art, but there's a lot of text in the book. There's a lot of behind the scenes prototyping showing sort of what this could have been and what it eventually evolved into. I like this one where originally there was an idea that the cards would all be like gravestones, and so they would be coming up from the ground and shit. It was really, really cool. But anyway, that's a nice little perk. And maybe you're like, Jaffe, you showed us this 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh, but I'm a little, fuck you. Hearthstone had the potential to be one of the best games of all time, says Fuzznuts. It was. It absolutely 100% was. And, they just really ran the fucking thing into the ground, and, shame on them, and they can go fuck themselves. The other thing I want to tell you is I put a poll up earlier today going, hey, should we do a Gavin Games today, or should we do an I Love the Weird? And, I Love the Weird is like a 60-40 split. But what I want to tell you is I would very much like to do more of I Love the Weirds. I won't do them on the weekdays, so I'm going to shoot real hard to do one this weekend, especially because there's a lot of crazy shit going on. So this is not that show, but I want to tell you why, if you're even slightly interested in stories about weird shit, aliens, the occult, weird religious stories, serial killers, the whole fucking thing. I love that shit, man. Well, let me show you what's going on today. This is really weird, man. And this is not I Love the Weird. I'm going to get on to games, but I just want to let you know why I'm really jonesing to do a new episode. Check this shit out. So tomorrow, I'm not fucking with you, man. Tomorrow, the Pope is holding the Pope is holding a press conference on aliens and the supernatural. This is the story. This is not bullshit. This is happening tomorrow. And they asked him why. This is happening. And he said basically, or his spokespeople basically said, the gist of it is, he says, according to the National Catholic Reporter, it's being done so after a surge of reporting of aliens and supernatural phenomenon from mainstream media. We can kind of we want the ease of going from one place to another, fostering frequent pilgrimages. So the ecclesiastical authority should discern quickly about the merits of such matters. Okay, so they are prepping the ground. Okay, they are absolutely prepping the fucking ground. Here's something else that came out yesterday. Related, Elizondo, who used to run the Pentagon's basically UAP program. It wasn't called that, but he you know, if you follow any of this shit, he's very well read and he's on the inside. He tweets this out yesterday. He says, "I was notified yesterday." He's no longer in that position, of course. I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I am not suicidal. I am not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members in the future, you will know what happened. Right? This is kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man. Shit's going down. We're not only talking about that tomorrow or Saturday, but we will be absolutely talking about this, and we will be talking about the Pope's press conference on UFOs. What do you mean the raunchy shit? This is not, no, you don't understand. This is the Daily Star. This is a tabloid. It doesn't mean the news isn't real. There will be a press conference tomorrow, tomorrow. But this is sort of this is their bread and butter, baby. They got kind of the sexy time stuff over here. They got weird stories. You know, what do you want? All right. Okay. Let us move on from that. I just want to let you know that's coming up on Saturday. Coming up tomorrow, though, on this very show, we will have Chan Park here, not for the whole show. It's going to be Chan's coming on for it's like 20, 30, 40-minute interview, depending on the time. And he will take your questions, but we're mostly going to be talking about his time and my time at Sony, his work in VR. He was the guy who led PlayStation All-Stars. It was his company. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Psycho 5.0, which is the game that he and his team were making that was canceled pretty much because Grand Theft Auto came out. 3, and it kind of just killed anything that was a car-based game that you couldn't get out and run around. So this will be tomorrow. If you're interested in hearing some old Sony stories as well as some All-Star stories and, you know, what he's thinking about doing next, maybe, and what he and I think of the PlayStation All-Stars brand. So that'll be tomorrow. Swing on by if you are so inclined. Okay, let's get right to well, actually, let me do this. Let me go to the chat. Let me give you guys a link if you want to call in. You can call in as always. Don't be boring, but, you know, call in and, you know, you can put yourself on camera or not. You don't have to. You know, you don't have to be a fucking baby about it. But here's the invite, and I'll put it up periodically because, once again, StreamYard doesn't really let you do that. You can link it once. There it is. Welcome, everybody who's watching over at Twitch, watching over at Twitter, and of course on the YouTube. Okay, so look, man, Take-Two announced today a couple of things. They had a couple of interesting little nuggets of news. They announced, of course, Grand Theft Auto will be coming out not this Christmas, as a lot of people hoped and assumed, kind of thinking it was going to be tied to the PS4 Pro. We'll, of course, talk about the Sony Showcase in just a minute. But they said, nope, that's coming in the fall of 2025. Okay, so now, what does that mean? Well, it means a couple of things, right? It means Christmas. Here's what we got coming up for Christmas as far as we know. Obviously, this is going to get fleshed out a little bit come next week. The rumor is Wednesday when the showcase, the PlayStation Showcase drops. And obviously, we already kind of know Microsoft's plan. I'm sure there'll be some surprises like, you know, nothing works. I don't fucking know. But we got Star Wars coming. We got Starfield DLC, which I'm excited, but I'm also excited for Star Wars Outlaws, Black Myth Wukong, Indiana Jones, Assassin's Creed Shadows. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Avowed, of course, which I'm excited about. Silent Hill, which I do think we will see next week at the Sony Showcase. I'm not very excited about because it's Bloober Team and it's Konami. But, you know, we'll see what happens. But regardless, though, they finally have come out with a date. And and Zelnick, who runs the whole thing, I think this was on his earning call. He's the 2K head. He says, he's like, you know, he said numerous times, this game cannot miss. This game it's got to work. It's got to push the boundaries, blah, 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 blah. He then came out today and said, well, it's coming out Christmas 2020 or fall 2025. Okay. So All I'm saying, and this is no surprise anymore. This is absolutely no surprise anymore, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think at this point, people should just flood the comments when any of these websites writes about crunch, but then as it relates to Grand Theft Auto and writes about it like it's a bad thing, but then turns around and makes tons of money on features and tips and all kinds of things about Grand Theft Auto 5, because you know these guys are going to be crunching like motherfuckers to get to that fall 2025. They're probably going to be working over the goddamn holidays, right? Well, again, I think that's what you have to do to compete at this level. Sorry, I do. Go fuck yourself. I mean, I appreciate that we can agree to disagree. That's awesome. But you know, that's what it takes. That's, you know, as Rocky said in the movies, Rocky, that's how winning gets done, he said to the people in the audience. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's going to be crunched, I'm almost certain. And I really hope this time that people don't give these websites any leg room or any leeway when it comes to talking about crunch, because I'm like, bitch, what do you want them to do? You're gonna kill them if they release something as underwhelming as Saints Row, whatever the last one was, 5, although I kind of liked it, but I understand most people didn't. And you're going to kill them if they crunch. Leave them alone. Just sit the fuck down. These are big boys, big girls. They make a lot of money. They know what they're getting into. Shut up. Eddie says, when being passionate and working overtime is crunch and bad. Well, sometimes, look, not everybody on that team is going to be passionate. A lot of people are going to be like, dude, you know, in fact, there was a guy who tweeted about 6 months ago. It was his first day on the job at one of the Rockstar studios. And he was like a junior artist or effects artist or whatever. And he was so excited. And I'm just looking at him going, I hope you know what you're getting into. And if he knows what he's getting into, that's fantastic. But if he doesn't, I'm just like, yeah, man, welcome to the suck that is the video game industry. Okay, IGN made a 30-minute video about the GTA release date. Bunch of jobless, idiotic man-children, says Addy Pie. Well, IGN isn't really the biggest problem when it comes to writing about and criticizing developers and crunch and management. It's usually the Kotakus, the Polygons, and I'm a progressive guy. I'm the most progressive guy you know. But even I kind of go, guys, you know, how many times have you fucking crunched to get your article written? Come on, man. Milkmaster says, I think every sector of entertainment involves crunch. Absolutely. Every sector of any job involves crunch. If you go into entertainment thinking you won't have long hours, you're in for a bad surprise. That's the job, man. That's any fucking job. I've worked on my book, says Da Vinci's Demons, since February 2022. I've had days of writing for 8 to 12 hours, but I can't crunch like that unless I'm motivated. Writing's, look, at least for me, writing's a little different. Like, creative work crunch isn't possible. Busy work crunch is possible, right? Busy work crunch, which is like, okay, I've got to convert all these files, or I've got to go through the bugs and see if I can, you know, at least knock out 10 bugs today. That kind of stuff is, or I got to play the game ad nauseum to find bugs. That stuff is absolutely doable. But yeah, if they say, okay, we want deep work, we want mind work. No, I'm with you 100%. That shit's very, very difficult. J Lord was asking, thank you for 2 super chats, buddy. The first one was thoughts on Elden Ring. Well, look, man, Elden Ring's my favorite game of all time. I haven't finished it. I'm almost finished with it. I'm looking forward to the DLC. I think it's magnificent and wonderful. And we'll talk about sort of the evolution of open world games a little bit later in the show as it relates to Ubisoft and a statement they made today. But as Elden Ring goes, I think it's fantastic. You know, I love Bloodborne. I love Demon Souls. Elden Ring, I think, you know, a lot of people will say Bloodborne's better than Elden Ring, and I just think they're so different. But I do think the lore in the world in Bloodborne is more interesting. But I loved Elden Ring. And then as for, are you still making games? Also, your thoughts on why the Saints Row reboot failed. I'm not making games right now. I'm doing some consulting work, but I'm not really interested in making games anymore. But thank you for the question and for the super chat. Saints Row reboot failed, I think, for 2 reasons. The main one is it really was a pile-on. I mean, I don't know if it could have ever succeeded because I don't know what the budget was. If you actually played it, it was fun. You know, here's what I think. I didn't come to it with a preconceived notion of of Saints Row, because I'd played the other ones and I'd played the DLC of Get Out of Hell or whatever, but I never finished them, and I thought they were cool and really fun. But I didn't feel like betrayed because suddenly I didn't have like a dildo gun or whatever, right? I didn't mind the shift in tone, but I do think that hurt them because that really was their brand, and I think a lot of people were looking for that. And so I don't think it was woke like a lot of people say. Like, I played it. The characters were not, I mean, they were 20-somethings. They were late Gen Zers, early whatever, millennials or whatever the fuck they are. But they were just doing normal things those people do at their age. So, of course, they're taking Ubers and, all this shit that's sort of in the culture. But there was no sense of like, let's go protest the right-wing media or anything. It wasn't that. I think what people took as woke was just the fact that they scaled back the over-the-top kind of goofiness. And I don't know if that was from wokeness or if that was from them just going, people have moved on. Like when we did Twisted Metal Black, we looked at Twisted Metal 2, and it's like, yeah, we had a game on the design board called Twisted Metal Road Trip or World Tour. No, it was Road Trip. It was a USA going, and Sweet Tooth was like dressed like Uncle Sam and shit. And it was very kind of in that same vein of 2. And a lot of people wanted that. But we also were like, the audience is mature. They want something a little bit different, a little bit more of their age. And in that, we shifted. I think Saints Row, the new one, was more about that. Because if you play it, there's no real proselytizing in that about agendas or views on things. But and also as a game, it was just kind of, it was fun. It was fun, but it was a B title, and I think probably cost like an A title is what it was. That's what I would say. For these people, having one black character is woke, says Adversary One. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a sec when it comes to Assassin's Creed. Oh, hey, Booty Toast. Booty Toast, what a name. He says, Jaffe, first time catching you live. Love your games, and Twisted Metal Black deserves to be in a museum. It's so amazing. On behalf of all of us who made it, thank you, buddy, and thanks for watching. Tim Duncan, you are a reflect. Okay, at least you followed it up. I was going to say you're a reflection of the worst internet trend where you'll say something and not follow it up with an example. You're out of touch, Jaffe, Tim Duncan says. You really like terrible games. I don't care. Let me ask you a question, Tim Duncan. If you have, you're using your real name, so maybe you have the stones to call in. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that is an insult to me? Do you really think that that taste in anything, but certainly games, is there is actually a correct answer? And like, I'm just deficient mentally because I like games that you don't like? Or because, I'm only asking because I don't mean to single you out, but there are so many people on the internet like you. That just feel that there is a correct sense of what is good and what is bad. And what's really crazy about that to me is, at least as somebody who used to work in video games, most of my success in video games was because I wanted to make things that I wanted to play and things that I didn't see reflected in the games that were already out there. And so it's just interesting. It's like, you want people to, why would you want everybody to like the same shit? I find that just such a strange thing that you cling to. Like it's some kind of positive thing that, oh, I like all the games everybody likes. I'm like, I just like what I like and I don't give a fuck. All right. Anyway, let's move back to Take Two. Listen to this. June 7th. 2K says, or Jeff Keighley says, June 7th, 2K is going to announce a game from a beloved franchise. And I'm like, other than GTA, do they have beloved franchises? People on the internet are speculating, of course, Borderlands. Borderlands is cool, but isn't Borderlands just kind of like a It's a hit. It does well. The movie's coming out, but it's not like a, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Well, see, BioShock. The problem with BioShock is Ken Levine. And I believe there was a BioShock after Infinite, right? But it was just like, and people seem to like it, so maybe it's BioShock. But I'm really not all that interested in another Borderlands at all. Midnight Club would be cool, but I don't think there's a market for that anymore, a pure racing game like that. At least not the money they would spend to make it. I'm trying to think, what else do they have at 2K? I mean, people were like, okay, I mean, sure, they do an NBA game every year. It's not that. So yeah, it's probably Borderlands. Could be the new NFL game. It could be, but they've said that it's from a beloved franchise. So I've played 2 Borderland games and they were fine. It's just, it's not I'm not a big looter shooter kind of guy for the most part. Listen to this. We got Cantankerous Games. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. He says, maybe a game that was formative to you. Silent Hill, Saints Row, Simon's Quest can never have a remake or sequel that lives up to what you remember. I think more often than not, that's true, especially when the sequel, I mean, yeah, here's what it is. I found that there is a amount of time where you can make sequels and you're still speaking to the same audience in the same way. But you let enough time pass without one of those games on the market, and nostalgia and memory of things you love that have nothing to do with the game, but you've marbled it in with the memories of the game, that sets in and that hardens. And then you end up in a situation exactly where, like, that's why I always say Sony would be better off, make another tactical, realistic military game. But all you're doing is asking for trouble if you guys remake SOCOM, for example. Yeah, somebody's saying Mafia. Yeah, I heard Mafia is getting, I know they're getting aren't they getting an HD version? But I heard 4 or 5. What's the one that would be coming out? Now that's one I've not done. I have never played a Mafia game because I heard mixed things, but I heard the last Mafia was actually pretty good. Gravedigger, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, you got to do an I Love the Weird. The people want it. Maybe not the majority, but there's some weirdos. Yeah, at the top of the show, you can roll it back and see. We talked a little bit about that. It'll be Saturday sometime. We'll be doing an I Love the Weird. So thank you for that super chat, and thank you for the membership, buddy. I appreciate it. Darth Nugget says, Colin was talking about a BioShock game being developed pretty far along like a year ago. Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure that they're making one. I wonder who the director is or who the key creatives are. So Addy Pie says, play Mafia Definitive Edition. It is an excellent remake. Okay. So Mafia 3 was the last one they made, and they just remade the first and updated the second and third. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna certainly give it a play because I hear a lot of good things about it. Okay. I want to show you guys a picture. I don't understand what I'm looking at. It's the goddamn truth. It's the goddamn cockadoodie truth. You see this, though? I haven't even read this article. I just got to show you this real quick. This is bizarre. Take-Two CEO Strauss claims it didn't close private division studios Roll7 and Intercept Games. What? Last month, the publisher said it planned to lay off 5% of its workforce. Included in that was Roll7 and Intercept Games, who did Rollerdrome, Ollie Ollie, and then Intercept did Kerbal Space Program. In a new interview, Strauss Zelnick says, we didn't shutter those studios, to be clear, and we always are looking at our release schedule across all the studios to make sure it makes sense. So we're being very judicious because we're in the middle of a cost reduction program. We've announced that we're saving $165 million, but we haven't shuttered anything. It says when he was asked if he was denying the reports, a Take-Two PR reportedly stepped in and said, what we've said is in the 8K filing that we put out, we talked about the cost reduction as 5%, but we did not give a label by label breakdown. Asked again to clarify whether the studio still existed, IGN's reporter was told, we have not provided any additional color beyond what I've just said. So, what? I mean, if that's true, then the question becomes, where did they get where did all the media get the story that these were the studios that had been shut down? Was it just Bloomberg and everybody ran with it as a fact? A Bloomberg report claimed it had seen documentation. Okay, so that's pretty fucking weird, though. That's pretty fucking bullshit on the part of the journalist. If the only place that people got the data that Roll7 and Intercept Games were being shut down by 2K was from a reporter who is saying he saw some documentation and they ran with that as fact, that's pretty fucking shit, man. Fuck IGN if that's the case. And I'll tell you something else. It's one thing to go, hey, Strauss, who the fuck kind of name is that anyway? That would be my question. Who the fuck named you? But I would say, okay, there are rumors out there that these studios have been shut down. Is that accurate? That's the question. Don't fucking just go with some reporter's shit and don't frame. That's fucking media, man. I tell you what. Totally sick of onions. Thank you, buddy. He has been here for 42 months, and I appreciate it, good sir. He says, I recently canceled a shitload of subs, but not my membership to this beautiful stream. Hey, I did the A with inflection because I love you, baby. Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you for that support, and thank you for that generosity, man. And thanks for being a member of our little show. Thank you, buddy. Back to 2K, they probably took advantage of the situation to get clicks, whether it's accurate or not. When do we get to sort of, I don't know. I mean, maybe people just stop reading them. I don't fucking know. I'm just like, you can't strike back at them other than just leave them alone. Don't read them. Just don't read them. Mecca says little Jason Cryer said they closed 2K Marin in 2014, and also they claim they never shut it down. And it could be semantics. It could also be, yeah, no one's working there, but we still officially have the license to the name of the studio, and we haven't killed the studio. We just don't have anybody working in there anymore. Okay. There are reporters in the traditional sense, Zeke. It's harder and harder and harder to make a living. But they are out there, and they're, some that want to do good news. Hey, Scott, I agree. Scotty G says, Jaffe, a lot of my Steam wish list is thanks to you. Your taste in games is legit. You goddamn right. I appreciate that, buddy. You goddamn right. Because listen, man, I scour the world for you guys and for me to find shit that's interesting. That's where I go. It doesn't have to be great. Doesn't even have to be good. It's just got to be engaging. Is it compelling? Is it interesting? I'm more interested in that than just playing another fucking generic piece of shit game that might be well made, but I've played 100 times. How life goes quick. Who's got time to play bullshit? J Lord, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, why have you stopped making games? And what are you consulting on? Not even indie games. I'm consulting with a company in Poland right now called Movie Games. And every now and then somebody will call me and say, hey, can you play this? I'll give you some ducats to give us your thoughts. So, but I stopped making games just because it wasn't fun anymore. And because I don't think, to go back to Timmy Duncan, I don't think that I really was connected anymore with the zeitgeist at the level that I needed to be in order to get the people's money back who was funding my little adventures. So it doesn't mean I could never reconnect. It doesn't mean that if I wanted to go back and really figure out how to, make stuff I loved and also pay attention more to the audience, I could do that. But it just, it stopped being fun because it started being so specialized that my role as a medium designer, in terms of I wasn't in the trenches laying down bricks and pickups, and I wasn't high up I was like high medium level designer, and I was an idea guy, and I was a writer. And all those things either got specialized or, the games became so expensive that a cool idea executed good enough was no longer good enough, and it wasn't fun anymore. That's what I would say. Here's a quote from Doug about journalism. He says, this is from Jason Zwig, Wall Street Journal. He says, lie to people who want to be lied to, you'll get rich. Tell the truth to those who want the truth, you'll make a living. Tell the truth to those who want to be lied to, and you'll go broke. I mean, listen, man. There ain't much distance between that quote and the truth, is what I'll tell you. I've seen it. I've seen it on this fucking show. When I thought, I mean, we're going to get back to the news, I promise, guys. But when here's what I thought. I thought when I started this, I was going to be able to tell people at least my take and my experience of how the sausage was made. And there are some people that like that and appreciate that, but a lot of people have no interest. And that's not even a judgment anymore. I used to be like judgmental to those people that were like, I don't really want to know how it's made. I want to just live in the ignorance of my fandom. And at first I'm like, oh, I have to help you. And now I'm like, no, they have their own shit in their lives that they're focused on. And they want to believe that this is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and this shit is magic and it's fun all the time. And that doesn't mean they're dumb. It just means, we all, I like to go to Disneyland. I don't want to know how many people struggled over coming up with the idea for a new ride. I just want to go ride it and get lost in the fantasy. Have you ever tried writing outside of games? Cantankerous says, thank you, buddy. 23 months. I appreciate that. No, I like doing this, man. Here's what I'll tell you. Once I recognized the fact that I could just talk with people and communicate with people, and get right to the meat of what the writing would have been about anyway, which was like, hey, here's this idea. All the other stuff kind of went away, and I'm like, let's just talk, So no, I've not really. There's one game I still want to make if the dominoes line up, if that's the right way to say it. But I am not. I am absolutely not. If I go to my grave and I don't do that, I'm not getting buried. But if I die and I don't do that, I'll be okay. But there is one more game I'd like to do. J Lord, thank you, buddy. He says, I would love to see a Duke Nukem reboot. I would love to see a Duke Nukem reboot, but man, how do you do that? How do you do that? Is it the first part as he's trying to sort of go woke, and then at the halfway through it's more of a it's more of a satire about that, and halfway through he's like, look, if you want me to save the world, I got to fucking put my sunglasses back on and get my bubble gum and start going to strip clubs, because the Duke don't work as woke, right? I mean, maybe that's built into the narrative, but I think that becomes a really interesting design and sort of creative IP challenge. Okay. If my dead body could be launched into space, would I go for it? How about, I'll tell you what, Zeke, join us for I Love the Weird this Saturday. And we'll have that conversation. Absolutely. Okay. Did you guys see Pyramid Head? I don't understand what I'm looking at. Let me show you this. They put Pyramid Head from the new Silent Hill motion picture show up. And I'm a little confused by this, because I think it's the same director of the last Silent Hill, which I've not seen. People seem to like it. That's not it. That's me as a cartoon. This looks like claymation, right? They're like, no, the Cannes Film Festival is happening right now, and the director was there, and they released information about the new Silent Hill motion picture show, and this was them unveiling Pyramid Head. This looks like something that would be on, what was that show on? Was it Comedy Central with Seth Green with the stop motion shit? What the fuck was that thing called? You know what I'm talking about, where they all that bullshit. Oh my God, that dog. They're installing some cabinets and he's losing his shit. But I'm just showing it to you because I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. This doesn't look like a real person, right? This looks like Robot Chicken, right? This looks like a thing from Robot Chicken, correct? J Lord, thank you again for the super chat, buddy. Mr. Moneybags coming into the room. He says, Jaffe, maybe try crowdfunding. No, just keep Duke and don't worry about anything like wokeness. Just keep it Duke. That would sell. Well, I mean, it would sell to some people. You'd have to make it around the same budget, give or take, of the original Duke, obviously adjusted for inflation and whatnot. But, all these people were out there going, that's the thing, man. and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, but there are so many people that think and look, I've gotten into this and I was being paid for it. And sometimes I made a lot of money. Sometimes I lost a lot of money for the people that paid me, but everybody thinks they know what would sell. How many people were like, Stellar Blade, dude, it's not going to be woke and it's going to fucking sell. Like, and you'll see. And it's doing fine. But Stellar Blade is not going to become the next big franchise. Not because it's not good. I hear it's great, actually. And I played the demo and it was fine. I enjoyed it. Who was I talking to? Was it Colin the other day? I was talking to somebody who was telling me, dude, Stellar Blade's really fucking good. And I believe it. And maybe I'll get around to it. But, you know, there is an audience out there that is waking up to the anti-wokeness stuff. And they want something in their entertainment that acknowledges that. But I don't think it's as big or as lucrative, at least at the moment. Now, I'm going to tangent for a moment because this reminds me of something I read last night, if you don't mind. I was reading about Rambo First Blood Part 2. I'm reading a book called The Last Action Heroes about all the 80s and early 90s and late 70s action heroes. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, blah, blah, blah. And it was really interesting because they were talking about, you know, how much in the doldrums America was in the 70s and Vietnam and all that shit and the oil crisis. And then Rambo was one of those things that Stallone just pushed the patriotism and the rah-rah America, blah, blah, blah. And then the year after it was Top Gun and really kind of made it in vogue again to be super over the top. Everything's great. America's great, blah, blah, blah. And it was a massive fucking hit, you know. I don't know if we can ever go back to sleep like we were then. I don't want to. I think 9/11 changed too much. I think Me Too. I think all of these incredibly, in the case of 9/11, horrific, but still important things, and social media connecting us and letting us know how other people are living, and it's not always as good as how we're living. I think it's hard to just go back to sleep. But I do agree that we'll probably start seeing entertainment begin to reflect a little bit more optimism, maybe, because I think most people are just tired of how dreary everything is. And it's not going to make things less dreary, but it might be nice just to have some entertainment that doesn't feel so goddamn depressing all the time. But that's, like I said, as a tangent. All right. Hey, there we got GT James. Thank you, buddy. He says, do you see yourself doing any projects with AI? You know, maybe. I mean, if I were to make a game today, I have to assume I would use certain aspects of AI. Yes. Hell, one of our God of War members who does the Day One Patch Kids, Rotten Tanuki back there, sent me a link today. I think I have it up here. I'll just show it to you real quick. Speaking of AI, I'm not going to show you boring AI stuff, but this is the new ChatGPT. This guy goes in here. Let me show it to you real quick. It's 5 seconds, but thank you for the super chat and thank you for the question, buddy. This guy goes in to ChatGPT, or maybe this is Google's new one, and he searches Breakout, the game Breakout, and he takes a picture of it, and he says, "Hey, can you make this for me?" And so it doesn't take, it takes a minute or two, and then he says, "Okay, run it for me," and he basically has, within a couple of minutes, a playable version of Breakout based on a picture. Based on a picture. This is where we're going, folks. It's going to be interesting. Maybe then I'll make a game. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think you can or even should make games, at least at the small level today, without having some of that shit in there. I think that shit's really, really fucking cool. Moyani, well, let me do this right. I'm so sorry. Munye, come on now. M. Smith of the Cincinnati Smiths. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, "Hey, Jaffe, I was curious. What did you do as a game dev at Sony? Were you a programmer? I loved Twisted as a kid, and it was my shit growing up. I'm 40, but that was a classic for sure." Thank you, buddy, on behalf of all of us who worked on it. No, I was never a programmer. All I know how to program is BASIC from when I was a kid. And I loved it, but I'm not a math guy or a logic guy at all. Anybody who watches the show more than 5 minutes can tell you that. But no, I was a designer and a game director and a writer. I did, and like I said, when I was there kind of in my heyday, all three of those jobs could be the same person. and really influence the whole experience. And it doesn't mean that that role doesn't exist, but even though you might be directing a video game these days, you're not the main writer. You could be if it's a small game, but certainly whatever Corey's new game is at Santa Monica, I'm sure he's working on the writing with the team, but I don't think it's going to be lead writer Corey Barlog. But I was lead writer on on one. I think he was probably, I don't remember the credits, was lead on one. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Okay. Hey, look at that, man. I've been waiting for good old Jeff Sanchez to come saunter up to the bar and say, look at here, you old fuckface. I'm going to be a member of this here club. Jeffrey Sanchez has just become a member of, I believe, the Diet Soda Soldiers. I don't... Ace loves you, Jeffrey Sanchez. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that very, very much over on the YouTube. Very generous, very kind, and very courteous. Okay, I'm going to get to the news, and I'll get to some of these members and super chats in just a little bit. Now, but thank you for those. Listen to this. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed real quick. Assassin's Creed Shadow, set in Japan. Story trailer came out. You know much about the gameplay, really. I'm in. It's not going to be as big as Valhalla, they say. It's not going to be as big as the one before that. They said it's about the size, a little bit bigger than Egypt and Origins, but I don't have that frame of reference. I know what they're talking about, but I didn't play Origins. But anyway, I like the setting. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game in a long time. I like that Ubisoft seems to know and acknowledge that they really have to improve their open world formula. They actually came out in their earnings call today or yesterday and said one of their two pillars moving forward is going to be making sure that they really retake the leadership position when it comes to the open world video game genre. They say that is a $22 billion genre, not the industry, but the genre within the industry is worth $22 billion. I'm sure half of that goes to GTA, but still. So I don't think that, they may not do it, but I think they know they've got to go beyond their really stale formula at this point. I don't know if that means AI generated quests. I don't know if that means, they're just going to go nuts with the modular mission so it doesn't get boring. I don't know if it means they're going to go nuts with the modular missions and then have more handcrafted missions embedded within the open world map. I know this isn't Ubisoft, but there's a rumor that Amazon is doing Tomb Raider as an open world game, which I've been waiting for, like a James Bond open world game or a Laura. Like I wanted Indiana Jones to be open world. I want a big action adventure where I can go to the airport and fly to a new, section of the world, like a big globe-trotting adventure and shit. So I'm totally into that. But anyway, people are upset about Assassin's Creed. I get this one. Our very own Eddie Torres. I understand how he could be upset about this because he's a collector, hardcore collector. They came out today and said you don't need the internet to play the game, but if you buy the game physical, you do need the internet at the beginning. Like you have to install it with the internet active, which is going to really fuck the collector's market. But I mean, they don't, that market, get in now. I tell people now these days, just buy shit if you can afford it. Doesn't even matter if it's great, if it's cheap, just buy it. Because sooner or later, we're going to be done with physical video games. And the people who have collected a bunch of them are going to do really, really well. But that's kind of shitty, but welcome to progress, I suppose. But the people who are complaining about there being a black dude as one of the co-stars, you've got and I want to get into it if it's not a thing. So in the chat, you guys tell me. If it's not a thing, I'll shut up about it. Because maybe it's just like a Mark Kern thing and a couple of his kinds of folks who are out there, generating controversy for finances. I mean, unless he really believes this shit. But I don't really get it. It's like you've got a Japanese lady in the show, in the goddamn game. She's a cool ninja. She looks awesome. It's set in Japan, and it's based on an actual samurai. Yes, he was the only, or the first, I think only as well, non-Japanese black. He was the first and only black samurai. He was one of the few non-Japanese samurai. And he's, steeped in the lore. I think he's like 1500 AD or something like that. He's a real figure. But I don't understand why people are, I'm not Japanese, really, Jaffe. So maybe you'd have to ask a Japanese guy and go, hey, does it bother you that, because the argument is, this is stupid. It's the first Assassin's Creed in Japan, and they couldn't give us a Japanese dude. It's like, well, they did give you a Japanese woman, and they did give you an authentic, historically accurate Japanese samurai or samurai from Japan. So I don't see the big deal. My guess is it's a tempest in a teapot. Nobody gives a shit, but maybe they do. So I'm asking you guys. Let me go to the calls and see if these guys seem to give a shit or not. Milkmaster, it's Jaffe. What's going on, buddy?
Well, just like my thoughts on the whole like shadows thing, and we might just agree on the majority of the thing. I think the one thing I will say is that maybe making Yasuke, or how you pronounce his name, like one of the main characters, like surely like they must have seen that they were gonna get a lot of backlash.
Well, are they getting a lot of backlash, or is it just like I said, a tempest in a teacup?
I mean, maybe, who knows? I mean, all I'm seeing is, you know, as soon as I hop on like Twitter, I'm seeing like Grums and all these people kind of just like trashing it, and you can probably expect it's always the same people that go after that. I think if they were trying to, like, I feel like they should have seen it coming, and I mean, I personally don't really have an issue with it, but I mean, if they wanted to maybe try and please the most amount of people they want, maybe they could have made him into like a side character. Again, I don't have an issue with this.
I mean, he was a real dude.
He was a real guy,
and you've got and here's the other thing. If he had just been some Japanese guy, I mean, we have Jin Sakai already. We have whoever is in Rise of the Ronin. I haven't played it. We have, even though I know Wukong is Chinese, but we have a lot of Asian male characters in video games. It's like, it's not like that is an underrepresented group in these sorts of games. I don't understand. But again, this shit doesn't bother me. It does seem to bother some people. But what do you mean? No, Addy Pie says no, we don't. I just listed a bunch of them for you. The other thing, let me ask you a question. I've not played a what's it called? An Assassin's Creed game for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still vibing with the whole, I forget what it was called, but the machine that lets you see your ancestors and that's who you're actually playing and you're hooked into a machine?
I actually don't know. I did not play the most recent, which I believe is Mirage. I think actually literally the most recent one I played was Valhalla. And I think that one, if I remember correctly, did include some sort of Animus type machine.
Maybe it's like, look, he really was a samurai, and look, I'll show people who don't believe me. I mean, I don't know why this is hard for people, but look, Black Samurai. Let me just bring it up real fast. Yasuke, here you go. There's even a picture. There's not a picture. This was like a long time ago. But here, where is the guy? Black Samurai, African Samurai, the true story of Yasuke, a legendary black warrior in feudal Japan. Okay, so, you know, I'm just going off the education of the internet. Yeah. So assuming he was real, right? Assuming that this guy was a real dude, then my question is, okay, well, if they are using this machine, this Animus thing, well, maybe the guy who comes in is like a mixed race African Japanese guy. So you really are playing a Japanese guy, descendant of this dude, but you know, he was a black guy. You know, I don't know. People just idiots.
I mean,
man.
In particular, I don't see an issue if they make him like some big warrior or like a samurai. If not, just because Assassin's Creed games, even though they've always tried to be historically accurate to an extent, they've obviously have had to make changes to more thematically fit what they're going for.
Yeah.
So, like for example, like Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, he's working with Ezio and, you know, the assassins, I believe, and obviously that never happened in real life. So,
of course,
like they can play around with these characters.
Here's what I'll say. I look at Wayne. He says he was never a fucking samurai, for fuck's sakes. He was a goddamn retainer. I just looked it up, bitch. The biography,
Yeah.
it literally calls him a samurai. But let's say he was a retainer. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
Who gives a shit whatever the fuck he was? He's a black man as a samurai in a fucking video game about a goddamn machine that lets you see into the past and fucking control ancestors' DNA. Fuck off. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm a white guy or white presenting. Don't you think we have enough? Let the black people have a goddamn samurai in the video game. What the fuck is wrong with you? Who gives a shit, man?
Yeah.
There's, and it's not even like, you know, the people that are complaining about, you know, there is an Asian lady in it.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't understand as well, because they're saying like, "Oh, I was hoping for a Japanese." They actually most of the time say they want a Japanese male main character, which I mean, to me, I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, it just if she's well written, I think she's going to be a character that we all like, whether you know she's a woman or or a man.
Yeah.
I think the frustration over that is just.
Oh wait.
It's the whole thing. With Yasi.
I
hear myself.
I got the echo back. That's my bad, man. All right, I got it though. Makes sense. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
All right, talk to you later, bud. There goes Milkmaster, fellas. Retainers. I'm not going to get into it. I don't have the education to talk about samurai and what a retainer is and what a retainer isn't. But what I can tell you, yeah, exactly, Dead Proof. Tell them to go play Ghost of Tsushima and fuck off, right? There's a million games that let you play that. Byte says black samurais are not real. White liberals just want it to be real. I'm a white liberal. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if there were black samurai and they put one in a goddamn game. What the fuck do I care? I think he's a cool looking character. I think she's a cool, sexy looking character. She's a sexy ninja lady. What do you want? What are you doing with your life? Get a fucking grip, bitches. That's my official comment. But yeah, that's my thing. We'll see. All right. I've seen Afro Samurai. Yeah, it's fun. I played the game too. The attack on DEI is now just a way to be racist. That's what. Where did it go? It is now. Yeah, I mean, you know. Here you go. Jericho, finally an Asian. Let's let an Asian call in, Jericho. I want to see and talk to an Asian fella about this, or a woman. He says, I'm an Asian conservative and I like Yasuka and Assassin's Creed. Good. Then shut the fuck up. There it is, right from the Asian's mouth. Here you go. He's Asian. He's a gamer. He says he's cool with it. Shut the fuck up. You have no opinion other than just, don't fucking buy it if you don't want to. Idiots. J-Lord. He says, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, your educated guess to say a fully modern in graphics and open world size Duke Nukem and Tomb Raider came out, but in character and plot unreconstructed and right back to sources. How do these games do? What you're basically saying is, okay, if you do a modern Tomb Raider where Lara Croft is simply what she was in the first 3 games, but she has been updated, and she is still very much easy on the eyes, and she is still a badass. She's taking bad guys down and being a lethal motherfucker, but she's also intentionally designed to be attractive to straight males and lesbians. I think that would do great because there's nothing offensive about that. And it would be a new Tomb Raider and it would be open world that I think could be interesting. I think Duke Nukem is a much bigger problem because inherent in the Duke Nukem DNA is kind of a, not meant to be offensive. And at the time it was acceptable to a lot of people, but there is a lot of misogyny and homophobic, if I remember correctly, stuff in that game. And in that, I think I would still support its right to exist. Of course, I mean I'm all for free speech and whatnot, meaning it should be able to exist. But if Sony doesn't want to put it on their platform, I support that as well. but I don't think it would do as well as the Lara Croft one. Okay, we're going to get to the Sony showcase in a second. I would very much like to get some of these super chats first, though, which I really, really do appreciate you guys. You guys are salt of the earth, unless you're a racist. Then you're just a rich salt of the earth. But you're still a piece of shit racist. Oh. I had a college professor. Excellent. Let me tell you this. I'm going to get to super chats in a second. Let me tell you this guy. His name was and remains Kincaid. Old guy now. Total free thinking dude. He's written a handful of books on like the Victorian era and how they sexualize kids and the marketing and stuff. And he puts himself out there. People are like, why are you writing about that? He's like, because I want to fucking explain where these people come from. Very intellectual guy. Anyway, point is, he would always, when you said something in his class you liked, he'd go, ah. That's all I got for you. J Lord, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. He drops a 2. Have you ever tried writing outside of games? Oh, I already answered that one. No, I'm good. I'm totally good. Okay. Okay, let me get to where'd it go? Sorry, fellas. Okay. Jeffrey Sanchez, we welcome. Thanks. Good to see you, buddy. Good sir JSD Moneybags. What they need to do with Stellar Blade is clearly release it as a remaster on PS6 like Last of Us and Horizon. I mean, if you're saying to make it more successful than it is currently, I wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Nintendo clearly does that with the Switch. We've seen Sony do that. There's money in them, their hills. I'm sure they will, if it sells well enough. I wonder if it's just going to be a remaster or like, I wouldn't mind them doing a remaster, but then addressing some of the complaints. Like there's parts of the first section of the game, apparently like the first half of the game that are boring and it gets great in the second part. Maybe go in and, figure that out, or Rise of the Ronin if they did it with. I'd love to see them go in and kind of address the fact that the game is awesome, but it's janky and the open world stuff is really generic, right? That would be great. But just giving it a new coat of paint, SD, I don't know if I agree. Good sir David Foreignash, I'm going to write a song about you. Hey, David. That's all I got. David, buddy, welcome. Thank you for being a member and joining. I appreciate it. J-Lord, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, I would love entertainment to go back to sleep as it was in the 90s and 2000s. The problem is, man, and I hear you, and I've been thinking about this as well, because I'm tired. And I'm a white guy, man, and I'm saying this, right? I mean, again, this is so privileged to say this. Or from a place of privilege to say this, but I'm a white guy and I'm just so fucking tired. Really? You think you're so fucking tired, white Jaffe? I know, but I'm just saying it's like, man, it would be so nice if we could just stop hating each other and stop being mad at each other and, just get out of people's countries. And not that we ever did that, but we didn't know any better back then. That's what I'm saying. There was so much ignorance that existed that had to be embraced in those times and before those times in order to go back to sleep. I think now the toothpaste is out of the tube, as the kids say. No, can you imagine? He's an 8-year-old kid and he says that. He'd get punched every day. But you can't go back to sleep as much as you want to, because you know about the injustices that are out there now that we didn't really know about as much before. And it doesn't mean that's all there is. And clearly people make it worse than it might be at times because they make money off of it. But I'm with you, though. I long just to not have so much anger and madness and hate. But here we are. Masochist has been a member for 19 months. Thank you, good sir. He says, interesting enough, Twisted Metal didn't stick with me as a kid. Fuck you, Masochista. I played it, but Metal Gear, Crash, Siphon, and Resident Evil hooked me more. Oh, I get it. Masochista, here's the truth, man. That game, I'm very proud of Twisted Metal as an IP. I'm proud of it for its time, for its gameplay. But the games that you listed, Metal Gear, Crash, Siphon, and Resident, are better games. I mean, they're better designed games. I don't mean the multiplayer stuff, but I think only Siphon may have, I don't even know if any of those, except much later, messed with multiplayer. Well, Crash did later too, but you know what I'm saying. I'm proud of the multiplayer, but the single player games were rubbish compared to the games that you're listing. So I always understood why Twisted Metal did not have a home in like the top 10 PlayStation games of all time. I think it was influential. I think it was very successful, and I'm very proud of it, and I love that it has fans. But I don't. I know where it sits. It's a B level and a mechanics level video game. But I hear you. Twisted Sith says, Jaffe, are you a 69 god? Not really. No. I don't. I'm telling you guys, I've expressed my thoughts on that whole thing. I don't like being that close to the anus with my mouth. I don't like it. I don't like it. When you're not doing it in that position, you can kind of, the butt can be on the, out of your, you don't have any danger of accidentally, you know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ. What is this, a porno stream now? We got the blowjob, now we got you son of a bitch. Jaffe, hang on, let me make a little moment of silence so I can cut that out too after the stream. What? Because I can recognize the audio file and go, oh, that was, I wanted to note. Alexa, remind me to edit the stream in 2 hours.
Okay, I'll remind you.
David, Foreign Ash, thank you, buddy. He gifted a member to the Diet Soda Soldiers. I appreciate that, buddy. Very generous. Thank you for the super chat today. Thank you for the membership. Thanks, bud. Shy Celia, thank you, buddy. How come no one talks about GameFly? Best deal in gaming. If you're in the U.S. Game Pass can't get me Elden Ring, Zelda, Spidey 2, RE8, etc. day one. I subscribed to Game Pass as recently as 4 years ago. I think Game Pass is not Game Pass. GameFly, I think is a great deal. I guess yeah. I mean, if really what you want is to play all the games and not worry about if they're on Game Pass or not, you can't really beat it. The only thing is you have to be willing to not be playing them day one. Sometimes you'll get them day one, but other times, that queue for new releases on GameFly is pretty brutal. And so you got to be okay stacking it. So whatever comes in the mail is going to make you happy. But yeah, no, I got nothing but love for that service. Miggy says Horizon is a great game. I appreciate that you think so. I appreciate a lot of people think so. I don't. I don't like Horizon. I love the combat. I love the graphics. I love the control. I think the narrative and the story are rubbish and obnoxious. I love the IP in regards to the dinosaur machines. I just find Alloy a big piece of shit character. She's horrible. And I think the storytelling is too on the nose and full of itself. But I appreciate your opinion. JSD drops some ducats into the till. He says, Miggy, Alloy sucks and the game is annoying because of that. Thank you for the super chat again, buddy. I appreciate it. And I don't disagree with the man. I don't think the game sucks. It's a great game. It's a beautifully made game. But I just cannot, one day I'm going to go to I haven't been to therapy in ages, but I'm going to go to my therapist and say, because the last therapist I went to, he was a gamer. And I'm just going to say, hey, Alloy, whatever. And he'll say, yeah. And I'll say, I want to spend a whole session just talking about why I despise her so much. And I know it's a me thing. I'm not like going, the guys or girls at Gorilla are untalented. That's ridiculous. But I just hate that character. There's something about her that just bugs me. And it's got to be a personal thing. I don't know what it is. Masochistic, thank you for the super chat. He says, the only game that's historically accurate is Metal Gear Solid 2. Not yet, but give it time. Kojima's pretty good at that shit. I appreciate the super chat, buddy. Quadruple A. No, sextuple. I don't know, whatever. There's 6 A's. He says, hey, Jaffe, thank you for the super chat, buddy. I just want to show some love. I'm a gameplay programmer new in the business and recently started at PlayStation. Don't always agree, but appreciate your perspective. Dude, you got to call the fuck in. Why in the fuck? Why? I mean, unless you are a great, like, high-end 3D engine guy, where it's like, look, this is where I can do my work at the highest level as it relates to entertainment and make some good fucking money. I get that. But if you're like a gameplay programmer, why in the fuck are you going to Sony? And again, I'm not knocking them. They're just like any other business out there. I'm not saying they are inherently bad, certainly better them than Microsoft. But my God, it's just a machine at this point. You're never going to get to sort of express yourself except through the code, which I guess is honestly the best way to do it. But no one's going to know what it means except you. I'm fascinated by that. But regardless, though, thank you for the super chat. And call in sometime, even if we don't use your name. I'd love to know what somebody today, what their motivation is to go work at a big AAA game factory, given what you know about just how incredibly cutthroat and brutal and unfair and difficult it is, especially given that you have opportunities in the indie space. That's what I'd love to know. But thank you, buddy, for that. I appreciate you being here. Good sir, Andrea says, Jaffe, what you mean? The game animates... Wait. I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of punctuation because it's necessary. What you mean? Wait. What you mean? Question mark. The game that animates and heating are memories that can kill you in the present, has a historical... Okay, you're being sarcastic saying that Assassin's Creed Shadow, what are you asking me to make it historically accurate? It's about a machine that lets you go back in time and will kill you. Yes, I appreciate that, Andreas. Maybe they can invent a machine that lets you go back in time and figure out where to find punctuation. Ha ha! Ha ha! Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, man. Rock's Heart Lollipop. Rock's Heart Lollipop. The name on everybody's lips is gonna be Rock's Heart Lollipop. Who came up with the name Twisted Metal, and what do you think about the game titles as they relate to what they're about? Okay. It was originally, thank you for the very generous super chat, Rock's Heart. It was originally called Urban Assault. No, it was originally called Battle Cars. That's how I pitched it, got a green light, Battle Cars. There was a SNES game called Battle Cars, but nobody cared. And then we changed it in production to Urban Assault. And it stayed Urban Assault for the longest time. And then there ended up being a Microsoft video game called that for the PC. So we couldn't do that. And then that sent us on a journey to find the name. And we explored lots of things. And even though I think it would have been stupid in retrospect, I was kind of into the name Cars and Rockets. I just thought that sounded cool. But Twisted Metal, which I didn't even understand that term, was a guy named, I think, Andy Sales, who had come in as a interim kind of executive when Sony ImageSoft moved to Foster City. And he was the guy that suggested it. And I was like, dude, at this point, we can't get anything approved by legal. They seem that they'll approve that. I don't even know what it means. And he says, Twisted Metal, like in an accident. I'm like, I've never heard that term. But we went with it. It stuck. And that's the thing. So when you say, what do you think about game titles as they relate to what they are actually about? I've said this before. I think it's like album covers. It doesn't matter. There's a documentary right now, I think, on Max about one of the real successful album cover artists, photographers of the 70s and 80s and early 90s. I think he did Nirvana's album for Nevermind. He did the Pink Floyd famous, I forget the name of the album, but with the Prism, maybe it's called Prism, things like that. And album covers and video game titles or movie titles only become classics if they're associated with something that you already love. So there's absolutely nothing. The name Fortnite is stupid when you think about it. Like, can you imagine knowing what Fortnite is today or even the day it launched and you're sitting in a meeting with a bunch of marketing people and going, that's it, Fortnite. Who the fuck would pick that? No one. Who would pick Jetmoto? No one. Who would pick, I'm trying to think. There's just so many. PUBG. What are you talking about? PlayerUnknown's Battle. I mean, what are you talking about? So no, I think it's a great question, and it's a great lesson I learned early in video games with the Jetmoto thing, because we were busting our heads, and finally we were just like, fuck it, just go with Jetmoto. And then it became a thing because it was a thing, and the name kind of went along for the ride. Thank you for that super chat, Roxy. Jojo D, our very own Jojo D of AI Creations. And yes, I'm still getting back to that AI video. I know. I've just been real busy, man. I'm sorry. Thank you for that generous super chat, buddy. He says, your best game night was by far Bloodborne. Blood Shore, an FMV game that you hosted 2 years ago. I've been advocating for you to make the complex My proposal video is on Discord. I'll check it out. That's another FMV. Look, I want to do that one. I've got 2 other FMV games I just recently bought that I think would be fun. And then I want to do this Crypt Master. Though I do agree. I find the games that everybody can participate in that are not party games, because party games exclude a lot of people. Like, you might be one of the 8 people and it's fun to watch us play Mario Party, but the stuff like FMV where everybody can make choices and stuff together, I think that's better, and I don't disagree with you. Bloodshore was a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, somebody was asking earlier, Jojo D, if I would make video games. I had those guys from who did I'm in Love with Your Dead Grandmother. In a heartbeat, I would make a game like that. I'd love to do an FMV game, just like a stupid fucking shoot it in a week, low budget horror FMV game. Oh my God. I wouldn't know how to code it, put it together, but I'm sure I could find somebody. That would be great. That'd be a lot of fun, actually. There he goes again. There he goes again. All right, fellas, let's get back to the news. I appreciate all those super chats. Very, very generous and nice. Okay. Why is he barking again, fellas? I just don't know with this one. Hang on. Okay. All right. Wait, Chris, is that Chris Volgar, Chris? Hey, I know this guy. This is Chris. Chris made Volgar. And he's got a new game he hasn't announced yet. Volgar was the shit, man. Have you guys played Volgar? It's kind of it's very difficult. But I didn't beat it, but I got to level 3 and I was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. But it was excellent. And it remains excellent. I recommend it. And it's kind of a riff on Rastan, but it's its own thing. It's absolutely, the Viking game. Absolutely. It's excellent. Should you keep making video games or go make pizzas? I mean, I don't know. Look, man, if you enjoy it, and there's a lot of people that fucking enjoy the shit out of the process, then keep that shit up, baby. But for me, I wasn't a coder like you are. And so, I needed a team to do what I needed to do. And so there was all the politics and maneuvering that came with that. But for you, yeah, keep going. I mean, when you got a new game coming soon, you should come on the show sometime and talk about it if you want. I didn't know you watch, man. I appreciate you watching. I'd love you to come on the show and talk about your work and talk about vulgar. Chris, did you hear what I called it vulgar? Nobody's done that before. But yeah, I hear you, man. All right, listen. Thank you, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, you guys go play that fucking game, man. It's excellent. You can get it. I don't know. I think I got mine on Steam. I don't know if it ever went to console or not, but, okay. I got what do they call them? A question, an email. I got a comment from Film Gamer X. I think this was on Twitter or on YouTube. It was YouTube. He says, "Hey, what do you think will be shown at the Rumor PlayStation Showcase in a couple of weeks?" I want to talk about that briefly. I want to talk about that a little bit briefly, shall we? Where's my notes? Okay. Well, first off, I think. It was funny. I don't know if you guys saw the Colin show I did the other day. I was talking to Colin Moriarty about this very topic, and we were discussing, is PS5 Pro going to be there? And he seemed to think it was time, I think, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was a little early, but I do think we'll probably see that. Stranger Chapter 1. What's that? I didn't recommend that. The link for the call-in, here you go. I'll put it up right here. There you go. I think that's it. Yeah. Spider-Man DLC with the Beetle. Okay. Yeah, that would make sense, actually. Spider-Man 2 DLC should be there. That makes sense. We'll probably see Concord, maybe Fair Play. We'll definitely see Until Dawn. I don't know if you guys have watched the trailer for Supermassive's new game based, the single-player horror, the casting of Frank Stone, I think it is, set in the Dead by Daylight universe, but I'm looking forward to that. But we'll see Until Dawn, probably. But then the question becomes, are we going to see Wolverine? We'll probably see it. I don't know if they'll announce a date, and if they do announce a date, it'll probably be March. I don't think it's going to be Christmas, right? I mean, do they ever really? When's the? I mean, they do sometimes, but when's the last time they put out a new IP at Christmas? Don't they usually wait until the teams push as far as they can go, and that's the fiscal year that ends in March? My guess is it's going to be a first quarter 2025. But then again, it's Insomniac, and those guys are a fucking machine, and they make quality, and they make it on time. And so if they need it for fucking Christmas, it'll probably be Christmas, but we'll see. Ghost Tsushima 2, I'm sure will be announced. It may not, How has everybody forgotten about Venom? I haven't forgotten about it. I just don't care about it. I'm not interested. I mean, I'll play it because it's Insomniac. I'm sure it'll be great. But I'm not all that interested in because we know what it would be. It's basically Spider-Man with, oh, look, you have all these crazy powers that pretty much are they really going to do anything different, or are they just going to look cool? No, it's Insomniac. It'll be good, but nothing about Venom has me excited in terms of oh my God, I can't wait to play that. Right. Wolverine. So JSD says, I think we'll get Spidey stuff before Wolverine. Well, I think you're right about the DLC, but I don't think we'll get a Spider-Man 3 before. Awesome Tatum, you're saying Black Myth Wukong, but that's not an exclusive, is it? That's going to be on a lot of different systems. But so I mean, they might still show it at the thing. It'd be nice to see some new IP. It'd be nice to see Corey's game at some point. I'd love to see that. Hey, Jay Styles, welcome back, buddy. Jay Styles is a new member. Everybody play a song for Jay Styles and think about your mother eating pickles. Hey, that was funny. No, it really wasn't. Shut up, Jaffe. God damn it, man. Let's bring in Kenny. Kenny, it's Jaffe. What's going on? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm doing a show. What are you doing?
I'm good. I'm heading to work.
What do you work at this late? What's your work?
I'm an EMS worker.
Oh my God. Lord's work, baby. That's got to be the hardest job. You got PTSD with that, right? That comes with that territory, right?
But we have a lot of units on tonight, so I'm hoping that it'll be a slow down.
Good God Almighty!
Well, best of luck. I'm in NYC, so you hear the trains and all that.
It really is one of those jobs that if they said, "Hey, let's vote to give more money to school teachers and guys like you, EMT," in a heartbeat, it's you. I mean, seriously. You guys are fucking here, and I don't mean that like I had vertigo once. I didn't know what it was. I was sure it was a stroke, and man, I never was so happy to see people than when the goddamn guys were coming up with the gurney, man. So anyway, what's up? What do you want to talk about? Shit, where'd he go?
Yeah, hello. Me? You muted me.
Are you there? I did not. Now I hope your echo is not back. Hang on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Kenny?
Yes, I hear you just fine. Hello.
Okay, what's up? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So, yeah, man, and for everyone that's on there, that's on this live right now, that's harboring these type of sentiments, these past 2 days have been.
Wait. Hang on. What kind of sentiments? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the whole thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows and the character, and it's been, as a black guy living in NYC, and I'm reading these comments on X, and this guy Grumps, you know who he reminds me of? I don't know if you ever seen the movie. It's a Stephen King film. I think it's called The Mist or The Fog or something like that.
I've seen that movie, yeah, and I've seen the remake. Which character?
You remember the lady in the supermarket, the religious one, that started making everybody kind of like acquiesce to her to her beliefs, that some of the people inside the store were the reason why this was happening. And I don't know if you remember that one particular character in the movie. Maybe some people
I don't, but I grew up in Alabama, and so I know people like that. And what I will tell you is, not to say they only exist in Alabama, but there were a lot of judgy fucks in Alabama who were going to tell you how to live your life. But Yeah, I think it's in Grums. I do know who he is. I've had him on the show once before. You know, I didn't know he was this, whether the word is bad or whether he's just this much of a grifter. But it's like, if he's serious about all this, I just don't know
Right. That's
what
what's
I
so
don't know what's the matter
concerning.
with him.
Yeah, man. I'm like, it's like I'm going through his page on X, and it's like it's almost as this guy posts every hour, and it's like nitpicking to the 10th degree. And then when you read the comments, it's like, guys, we're talking about a historical character, and there's a video that Ubisoft put out with one of the lead narrative designers. What she says, like, yeah, we did our research, we found this character, and we said, hey, we're going to use him, but of course we're going to infuse a story behind him, right? We're going to take some artistic liberties with this character. And what I say to that is, what's the problem with that? And on top of that, you have an Asian character in the game, a woman, which if you read the comments, it's like she doesn't even exist. It's just, I'm so upset
Well, I
because
think
I'm
here's
42. Oh man,
Well, I think here's
man.
the thing. No. I mean, look, I can only get it as a white guy watching from the sidelines, but this is what I always say to these people. You know, if you are talking about and I don't mean that they're wrong on all their comments, but if you're talking about DEI is a problem or ESG is a problem or this character being black or this character being trans or whatever is a problem, I'm like, my answer is always go. And when I say yes, but it's for these reasons, they're like, oh, there's no racism anymore. It's not like it was or whatever. I'm like, okay, but we're a bunch of white guys. Go ask a
What?
black guy. Right. Well, go ask a black guy, go ask a trans man, go whatever. And let's have them as part of the
Right.
conversation, because we're not the ones to say that, oh, racism is solved. This is just shoving DEI or whatever. And even if it were, who gives a shit? If the game looks cool for what it is, we've only seen a cinematic, but I
Exactly.
mean, what do
Thank
you
you.
care? You know, I
And
mean,
what's gonna be so entertaining? I'm sorry, Jay. What's gonna be so entertaining to see is that when the game comes out and we play it, and for example, we realize that Naoe, I believe her name is, it's gonna be so interesting to find out where she's like 70% of the game, and maybe he's kind of just there. He kind of interjects in and out of the story here and there. We'll wait and see. But I want to see what they're gonna say then, right?
they won't
Because
say anything. They will have moved on to the next thing, because it's not really about Assassin's Creed. It is about the fact that either they're grifting and they just don't care and they're just trying to make money, in which case it's like, well, there's capitalism for you, or
yeah,
they're the
man.
ones that are genuinely upset about this, and that's a therapy. Make peace with why your dad didn't love you. Make peace with why you feel you're not getting the jobs. And it's got, when you really drill down and look in the dark places of your life, it's nothing to do with the black man or the trans woman getting the job. It's everything to do with the fact that you have gotten used to being able to sort of skid by, and now it's gotten harder and you don't like it. Because ultimately that's what the problem is. They're not, who would be upset? You know, if there had never been a video game with a Japanese man and this was a chance. But I mean, we just got Jin
Right.
Sakai. we got Rise of the Ronin. We got so many fucking games.
Right, because I could understand. I would give them this, right? If they just created an entirely fictional character and they didn't have Naoe, I would be like, okay, I get it, right? I understand. But you have this Asian character, and you have this guy Yasuke, who was a historical figure. Like, you could look him up.
I
They literally
looked
put
him
out a
up,
video right after. Right, you did. I saw you did it.
and people
Then I
were
asked
like,
myself,
yeah, but did you
are they
see?
doing the same thing? They
Well,
could look it up.
the response though was, oh, but first it's like, oh, well, it's bullshit. And then it's like, no, he was real. Okay, but he was real, but he wasn't a real samurai. He was a reserve. And it's like,
He was a
shit.
reserve. Like, right? I'm like, what the fuck? Oh,
It's ridiculous. Buddy, thanks for the call. Stay
yeah,
safe on
man.
the
Keep
streets,
doing your
man.
thing, brother. Keep doing
You
your
as
thing,
well.
man.
Hey,
Yeah,
you as well. See you, man.
I'm literally about to clock in. All right, man.
There he goes, fellas. That's a hero. And I don't mean that like these guys are like, oh, you're a fucking hero. You ever had to call the EMTs before? God damn. I mean, you call the EMTs when you are, or one of your family members are like, and you're terrified. I tell you what, real quick, we'll get back to games, I promise. But I was married, and I had food poisoning, and my ex had food poisoning. Kids were upstairs sleeping. I go into the bathroom, and I may have told you this, and I find her lying on the floor. And we have bidets because we're not savages here. And the bidet was going, lying in a puddle of clean water, and her eyes are wide open. And I thought the woman was fucking dead. I thought she was fucking dead. And she was just dehydrated and passed out. And by the time the EMTs got there, she was starting to come around. But I'd never been so happy in my life to be able to have somebody come there and go, I don't know what to do. Please come keep my world from falling apart. I mean, I'll tell you, they do some great work. All right. You know what we're going to do? We're going to move because today's just been a weird fucking show, and we're already about 2 hours, going to be about 2 hours in soon. I might stream a game tonight. We're going to save Hellblade till tomorrow. Some PlayStation Glassdoor reviews. A couple other things, something the Helldivers guys said. We're back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. But I'll go to the chat now. I'll just talk to you guys, whatever you want to talk about. And I also need to figure out, but that's the news for the day. And we'll just do some free chat for a little bit, then we'll wrap it up. But listen, I'm trying to figure out why in the fuck I'm getting these echoes. I'm going to try to bring in P Turtle for a brief moment. I know he's going to echo, and this is new. This has not been happening before. Let me see what's causing this real quick. All right, P Turtle, you're there, yeah?
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I echoing?
Okay, yeah. Hang on, don't say anything else. Did he just echo then, everybody, when he said, yeah, can you hear me? When the fuck is lunch? We're going to do lunch next week. We were going to do it this week, and I had termites, and it's been a whole fucking thing. It's a real nightmare. No echo. Say something again, P Turtle.
It's P Turtle, baby.
What do you guys think? Is it work? No echo. Isn't that something? Okay, what's up, P Turtle?
What's going on, man? I wanted to talk about the Assassin's Creed thing, and
Yep.
I also wanted to talk to you about that woman that was attacked playing the Twitch game. What is it? What's that shooter?
Is it the woman who was somebody said he was going to rape her, or
right,
she was
Taylor
attacked?
Morgan girl. Right.
Okay, so she wasn't attacked. I mean, she was verbally attacked, but she wasn't attacked.
Right. Well, she treated it like she was attacked.
Well, she just logged off and was like, "Oh my fucking god!" Did something happen after that?
You know the whole story though, because
She was playing one of these games, and there was some asshole online that basically was like, kind of skirting around the issue of rape, and she's like, "Are you going to do that to me?" And he said something that was pretty much yeah, and she hung up.
He was clearly trolling, but that's not the entire story, and this is why we need to talk about this, because this is what's going on in gaming. You get these Twitch girls that cultivate these fan bases of a bunch of simps, and they pay money because they like the way these girls look. Sure. About 2 minutes before that situation happened with the troll, she was streaming, and her chat was saying, "Don't just mute this guy. Don't say anything to him because he's a known troll in the community." Right? He's clearly trolling. And she says, "Well, no, I wanna use this for content." She says this before this all happened, so she knew and she provoked all this.
I don't think. Okay, but let's be clear. Everything you just said sounds correct, except she provoked all of this. No,
she knew. She said she wanted content.
No. Okay, but this is that victim blaming bullshit that I don't have any patience for. Right? Okay. The idea that this guy was a known troll, and it's the video game Twitch version of, yeah, if you don't want to get assaulted, you shouldn't walk down an alley at night wearing expensive jewelry, or if you're a woman, walk down an alley in a bad part of town wearing your bra and panties, right? But end of the day, though, it's still not their fault. Right? They shouldn't have to be. She shouldn't have to be worried about such a threat because she calls out an asshole. But that said though, yeah. I mean, certainly, I'm sure she, maybe she hammed it up and played it up.
She started crying, and then she.
I haven't seen that, but
she sends a message. You didn't see her crying. It's in the video. She's crying, and then she sends a message to Riot Games saying something needs to be done. You need to ban this guy. I'm paraphrasing here. It was a lot more dramatic than that. And she watermarks her name on the thing on the video. She now has hundreds of thousands of followers, or God knows how much more. And it's like this video has 40 million views, and it's like, come on, us men, real men are being attacked in our hobby, and you need to defund us.
No, shut up, Turtle. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but this we all know you do bits, and this has got to be a bit.
What's a bit?
Because what you're saying is that even though she may have benefited from the content, and even though she may have poked at the bear,
this was her plan.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is, let's say it was. Let's say the whole time she's like, you know what? I know this guy's a troll. I'm going to get him.
I'm doing it for content. Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't remove the fact that he still is going around saying, I'm going to rape you.
He didn't say I'm going to rape you.
But he did. He didn't say that literally.
And he said something along the lines like, it's not rape if I like it. It's funny troll things, man. We were saying that 20 years ago.
You weren't saying it to women you don't know. You may have been saying it to your sister's friend when she was over after school.
In games, you were saying that. I said that when I was playing Uncharted 3. I mean, I didn't say that, but I was telling girls crazy things that I was going to grab their tits and things like that.
Okay, well, first off, we know that's a lie.
Okay, why?
Because I think Uncharted is a M-rated game, and I don't think they let preschoolers play that game.
Yeah, well, I had somebody buy it from the outside.
No, I don't mean you. I mean the people you were talking to. Because aren't you into the really young? Aren't you a weirdo?
I'm the legal women like my girlfriend. But anyway, I thought that was something you should have discussed because it does point to how us real men are being targeted. They're like the FBI on January.
You're not. If you here's you being targeted. My name's Pete Turtle. I walked into a Starbucks and ordered a cup of coffee, and I got arrested because I was targeted and I didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. That's being targeted. You saying pretty much, I'm going to rape somebody, and then going, I've been targeted because somebody said I was going to rape somebody. Mm-hmm. That's not being targeted. That's you being called out for being an asshole.
But it's, again, from what I understand, he didn't get banned for that. He was allowed to say it, and she was asking for him to get banned. So he didn't do anything technically wrong. And again, he didn't say he was going to rape her. He was joking around, and it might have implied it. Okay.
Well, again, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think joking about. I think if you know your audience and they're your friends and you've accepted that that's the kind of talk that you guys do, whether it's about race or whether it's about sexuality or whether it's about sexual assault, and that is your crew that you hang out with, male or female, that's great. But when you are talking to someone that you don't know, and let's put it this way, Pete Turtle, forget the fact of what you should or shouldn't be able to do. Let's just say, women are rightly so have their guard up. They men can be assholes. Right. And abusive and cruel. And to say that to a stranger without knowing her history.
But he did ask. He did ask her before. Before he said anything, he asked her, do you know, have you been raped? And she said no. So he did know her history after he went into it. So actually,
that doesn't, just because you haven't been shot with a fucking gun in your heart doesn't mean you don't know you're not going to like it.
No, but I'm saying she's certainly not suffering from any trauma due to it.
You don't know that. She may have been abused, or maybe it doesn't even matter. It's not like she needs a checklist where it's okay to be offensive. I'm saying if you're a guy, or in your words, if you're a man, what kind of a man would be so uncaring and cruel to a woman that they don't know because they know there's a chance that it could really be offensive and hurtful?
Can I counter
what
that?
The fuck kind of a man are you if you consider that masculine?
All right, and can I counter that? What kind of grown woman goes into video games to provoke trolls to try and get them banned and then create a whole newsworthy fake drama so she can accumulate a bunch of new viewers and subscribers? What kind of person does that? Someone
Somebody
that
in a
knows how to game the system, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm
So,
not saying
just
that.
saying-
I'm not saying that's what happened. But let's assume it is. I'm not surprised if that's what happened. Okay. I'm not saying like she didn't do that. Oh yeah. Let's assume she did.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume she did. That doesn't merit him being an asshole. You can still be a real fucking man and go, yeah, for whatever reason, I don't like this particular woman. She's being kind of a pain in the ass and she's being a jerk, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you why would you do it? Why would you talk about something as clearly sensitive and harmful and traumatic as raping a woman or anyone?
When you
don't know them and know that that's okay.
All right, but Jaffe, can I just say this? Since online gaming has existed, this is what gamers have done. Being edgy on games is a part of online gaming.
Okay, but isn't it time to grow and change and not be such an asshole?
You know what? How about this? Maybe we would if we didn't feel like we were being forced to.
No one's forcing you to.
Doing it because they feel like it's a part of a revolution. We need a revolution.
Okay, then you know what? Then those people are fucking morons that were educated with a banana and an inner tube.
Oh, are you saying that because I'm black?
Yeah, because that tracks. What? And I thought you weren't black.
Yeah, well, can I get to the second thing? I know
You're
I got
black when it suits you. Is
Yeah,
what
right.
it is.
Do I have enough time, or can I say something real quick?
No, we're free chatting. If I just put the link up, somebody wanted to call in. You guys can call in. I don't mind.
They can join because I wanted to say two things.
I didn't say they wanted to join you, but anyway, go ahead, B-Turtle.
I'll just say two things. So I wanted to touch on the Assassin's Creed thing.
Yeah.
So I just don't like that your side, the weirdo liberal side, right, likes to use these like examples of, oh, he did exist.
Even no. What did I say? I said even if he didn't exist, if a writer pulled it out of their butthole,
right,
and the writer was the most DEI loving motherfucker you ever saw. Okay, great.
But that's the answer right there. A lot of people, and I will agree with you on this. A lot of these guys, I don't know, the Grubs guy or whatever. A lot of these guys try to pull out these horrible excuses for why it's wrong. When you can point to other games, right? I know they showed like Neo 1. You can play as a white protagonist in Japan, and nobody had a problem with that, right?
I don't know what that is, but okay, cool.
You never played the Neo games? Neo 1 and 2 that came.
Oh, NIOA. I was thinking you were like Neo the Matrix. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, so the first game you play as a white guy who's based on a historical figure, right, in Japan. And nobody had a problem with that, right? And that's why you don't make these horrible arguments to try and prove your point, because you don't want to be viewed as a racist. At the end of the day,
wait a minute. What is the point you think you're making?
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like these guys, these gamer guys like
But who cares if there was a white guy in Neo? What do I care?
I get that. What I'm saying is they excuse that, right? They excuse that, but they don't excuse the black guy in Japan. Which points to hypocrisy, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to listen and understand what you're saying. You're saying there's a game called Neo 1, and the guy in it is white. There's a lot of games with guys that are white. What's the hypocrisy?
The point I'm trying to say is that the people that are angry about Assassin's Creed, this new one, weren't upset about Neo having a white main protagonist. You get what I'm saying?
Okay,
it wasn't a Japanese guy.
Yeah, sure, but I think the people who were upset about Assassin's Creed having a black guy are a bunch of fucking idiots.
But that's my point. Oh my God. All right. So my point is it's hypocrisy, right? So because you can point to that and say, well, why don't you have a problem?
Why is it related? Why is having a white guy in Neo at all related to the black samurai?
Because it's both main characters are non-Japanese guys that are from a foreign land that are the main characters. But nobody had a problem with Neo. Everybody has a problem with Assassin's Creed. How don't you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, now I do. Okay, because I don't really know the game, but you're saying Neo is set in like ancient Japan.
Right. And the main character is based on a historical figure.
Okay, then you know they're
and
even worse.
People are using that to make to push back on, well, why didn't you guys have a problem with this white guy? To kind of point out that they're racist, which these guys aren't. The problem is, and I agree with you, that these guys make all these kind of excuses. At the end of the day, we don't want to see a lot of black and minority characters in our games because A, we know what comes with it. We know it's coming with a whole bunch of woke stuff. And B, it's the principle. We want you to serve us, but you guys keep wanting to make games for your, I don't.
You are, but you don't. You're not a very smart person, though.
Okay.
Do you know why you're not a very smart person?
Why?
Because you operate under this absolute fantasy that video game makers go into work and they make exactly what they want with no demands from the people who pay them. Do you actually think that if there was a big enough audience that rejected black characters, trans characters, female characters, Asian characters in video games, do you actually think Sony or any of these companies would continue to spend $100 to $300 million? Of course not.
So
They would say that's not working. So when you paint it like you have to serve us, you're in the minority.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Are you kidding?
Because the games are selling better than they ever have.
Let me ask you this, Jaffe. For the next Last of Us, do you think they're going to be extremely woke on that game, or do you think they're going to change things up?
That's a little different.
Oh, it's different now. Okay, I'm the idiot. Go ahead. Tell me,
you are
Mr.
the
Smarty
idiot
Man.
because, okay, that's different because we still don't really know, and we may never know the sales of The Last of Us 2 and how we know the sales, but there's so many. Well, we don't though. We don't know how many were sold at what price. We don't know what was the PS4, what was the PS5. We don't, there's a lot, how much was affected by the leaks and how much was affected by Joel and how much was affected by the woke agenda, right? Mm-hmm. So all of those things are at play. I can't tell you what the lessons Naughty Dog will take for 3. Will they go, no, we sold great, we're going to stick to Neil's vision? Or is Neil going to go, look, we're spending $300 million on this fucking thing. Mm-hmm. And, says Sony, it's great to make The Last of Us. People want that, but you cannot be, you got to dial it back a little. I don't know. I think that's going to come from on high, assuming it's an issue, but we don't have the data to know that.
I know this is not video games, but do you think the Marvel movies are going to do that? Do you think they're going to start kind of dialing back the woke and stuff?
I think Bob Iger has said as much. I don't want to call it the woke stuff, but I definitely think they are probably going to stop being as messagey and preachy in some ways. Yeah. And I think that's great. I think that's great because the business has said, or the business is, the money has said something, and the business people have read it, or at least Bob Iger has read it as, you know what, we pushed that, we believe in that stuff, but we pushed it a little bit too far. And end of the day, we're about the ducats. And as much as we'd like to do all that stuff, we have to be a business first and foremost, and he's admitted he's going to pull it back. That's the market speaking. That's what's supposed to happen.
All I want to say to my fellow gamers who are anti-woke and don't want this stuff in their games, stop trying to pull out all these dumb excuses. You don't have to explain yourself. If you don't want a black samurai, you don't need to explain it. You just
say you don't like it.
Yes, and don't buy the game. You don't want it. You don't have to explain it. But Jaffe, this is not long. Just last thing, I wanted to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you block me on Twitter?
I didn't block you on Twitter.
I tried to write something on your Twitter account, and it said I couldn't write anything on there anymore.
Nope, I never blocked you. Are you called P Turtle on Twitter?
Yeah, but it's P Turtle, not with an L, with an I.
I don't know. Send me something on Discord. I'll figure it out. I didn't do that. All right, see you, buddy.
I'll send it now, but let me not.
All right. Okay. Hey, where did Vitaphone? I didn't mean to cut you off. Did I knock you out, Vitaphone? I didn't mean to. Attack-a-back-a-poo. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I was trying to join the conversation you had with P Turtle. So.
Oh, okay. Well, he's gone now. He'll probably be back in 5 seconds. Pete, let me blow the whistle. He'll be back in 5 seconds, buddy. I'll bring you back on. Stay in the chat room for a second.
All right.
Sal, what's up, buddy?
Hello. Did you hear me?
No.
Are you sure?
What's up?
So I wanted to talk about the complaining about Nio that was talking about this P-Turtle. So that game was based on a script, unproduced script by Akira Kurosawa, and that's why there wasn't many people complaining about a white samurai in that game.
Well, I mean, why didn't they
Because-
complain about the script? I mean, wherever it came from, wasn't it a white samurai? Is it that if Kurosawa writes it, it's okay?
I guess because he came from a
Japan?
Japanese writer. Yeah.
People are idiots.
And
People are fucking idiots, man. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if it's a black guy, a white guy, a Jewish guy, a trans woman? Shut up. Play your fucking video games, eat your fucking product, and beg for
I
more,
agree.
you bitches. Yeah.
I agree. That.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Sal.
Yeah.
All right, I got Pete Turtle back with a Takale. All right, here's your boyfriend you've been waiting for. Here you go.
Hey, what's going
All right,
on, man?
Pete Turtle, you
Hey,
were
dude.
on with Edakale.
I can't say that name, but what's up?
It's a TKL. But yeah,
Sheffield, okay.
yeah.
Sure.
It's very complicated. So like I know that's not like very.
Well,
helpful.
luckily you're talking to a high IQ individual, so go ahead.
Oh yeah.
That's not what David Jaffe just said.
That's true. That's true. All right, what's up, bud?
No, so like I just wanted to say like I think like for me like the Assassin's Creed thing like I just don't care like it's a video game and it's not realistic and I just don't really care if they have like a black guy that's a retainer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
I get that you don't, but a lot of us look at it as a symptom of a problem that's going on in every video game made today. So again, I think a lot of people don't actually care about this, about the black guy being in the game. What we care about is why he's being put in the game and how that's going to affect future games and how it's affected, the past few years that we've been dealing with this with video games. So that's the problem.
No, and that's 100%. I think the thing that is going on right now, like right with like, we saw that with like Stellar Blade. Like you can't have like a chick that's hot and Asian or whatever.
Why?
Like,
you have it. It exists. It's on the shelf
There's
now.
censoring in there, Jaffe.
It is, but they also changed it.
They made one slight little fucking change.
Why'd they do it?
We don't know, but we've already had this conversation ad nauseum. There's a gajillion things in Stellar Blade that are overtly sexualized, well more than the fact that they covered up a little bit of a boob window.
I'm a Street Fighter guy.
I think like just overall like so it's just like the like you could say like it's quote unquote the woke mentality that's like edging into games, right?
Exactly.
I think you can basically say that there is a more inclusive sense that has hit the art form of games and all other art forms.
100%.
And welcome to the future. Welcome to the fact that it's no longer a world that's just dominated by straight white men. Get used to it.
Jaffe, Vitaphone said he wants to come on. If you could bring him on.
All right.
That's my guy.
I don't know about that. All right, here's Vitaphone. He's on.
That's my guy.
Vitaphone, you're on with P. Turtle, myself, and Ezekiel.
Sometimes I'm your guy. Sometimes I'm definitely not your fucking guy.
Oh, shit. Okay, my bad.
So, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo this kind of same sentiments that I think that there isn't a problem with minorities or women-led games as long as the story is right. I personally think that Last of Us 2, I think the story works for,
Me too.
for all the elements that the elements of that story was pretty organically part of the story, so it didn't feel like it was tacked on. I know that a lot of people don't feel.
Yeah, I'm on. I totally do, but I get it.
You didn't even play it.
I watched the whole thing on YouTube.
It's a good example, but like that's the whole thing is like it. You know, like you go into a game, and then and then the protagonist of like the one before it, right, that you really connect with, like they just get like miffed out. Like that's obviously gonna piss off a lot of people off, and like a lot of people are gonna take it in different ways.
But hang on. Just stay with that for a brief moment. That is a fair criticism of the writing, but that has nothing to do with something being woke or not woke. That like I love this show. That people make fun of me all the time for loving the show The Good Doctor, but fuck you, I love it and it's a big hit and go eat your own butthole.
Well, who cares what you want?
Okay,
like,
but what I'm saying though is in that show next week is the final episode of the entire series, right? It's coming to an end. And the last season is so poorly written, and they're killing off all these characters. And I understand from a writer standpoint, oh, you're doing it because you want to show the arc of the main character, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what the show is really about, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. The point is, though, I am complaining about the writing of the show and how they're handling that. If you were complaining only about Joel, that's one thing. But Joel dying isn't woke. They killed the main character in To Live and Die in L.A. in the 80s. Nobody was like, that's fucking woke that they killed off Peter or whatever his name was. They just did it. And people were like, what the fuck? And you either liked it or didn't, but nobody thought it was an agenda. Why is Last of Us wrapped up in this? What's woke about that game? Because she's a lesbian?
I'll tell you what.
Spoke about it.
Yeah.
First of all, in the beginning of the game, they deal with Ellie being lesbian and some guy. She doesn't want that guy's bigot sandwiches. Come on, who's writing that? Second of all, again, no offense to the trans people out here, but there's a whole subplot with a trans character in this kind of, religious cult that her mom, doesn't love her and they're trying to get her out. It's like, this is the sequel to Last of Us 2? This?
What's the matter with having a trans character amid all these other people?
The message wasn't in there.
I'm not saying there wasn't, but that's the writers. I mean,
I get it. I'm saying that took precedence over the quality and the good things that the gamers wanted.
You just don't like you didn't get served what you wanted from the menu, and now you're pissy about it. But what most real men do is when they go to a restaurant, they don't like the food, they don't go there anymore.
I didn't even buy the game. I watched it on YouTube.
That's what I'm saying. So what are you complaining about? Just go, that's not for me.
What I want to do is I want to make sure that these developers and studios hear from us, and we don't let them off the hook.
But you're so dumb. But you're so dumb, P-Turtle. The only way they can hear from you is if you don't buy their shit. You think they care about some people on an internet show yelling about, I need to woke? You think they care about Mark Kern's fucking Twitter account?
Let me bring up one point. That P-Turtle is probably going to appreciate. And this is kind of the real issue. Like, The Last of Us, I think, is great, but it's got a trans character, it's got a lesbian, and it's got a woman who arguably some people will say is built or factually built like a man. There's too many things in there for the average. I think that the average person. So even when it's done well, it's too shocking for general audiences.
I think that's absolutely accurate. I think if you want to, but I don't think it means it's bad, and I don't think it means it was a bad choice.
It's not bad, but like, I think that's also why like you see people like having like such a backlash about like all this like woke stuff about Assassin's Creed, because like then it becomes a thing.
What's
where
woke about Assassin's Creed? That it's a black dude?
I personally don't care, but like I understand why people would care,
because they think it's something that it probably isn't, right? I mean,
well, but that's also the thing with like The Last of Us. It's like The Last of Us Part 2. Like the reason why I think that it gets so much like hate, right? At the end of the day, is because they did heavily lean on like all this stuff, right?
Well, yeah. I think Vitaphone brings up a very good point, which is, as much as I have zero problem with any of that content, it is the responsibility of entertainers, and I'm not saying they didn't do this, but to go, okay, if we're going to take these steps, it's our responsibility to know where in the zeitgeist we are playing and what the ramifications may be, and are we willing to still do that, even if it means that we're going to push some audience members away. Assuming that was a conscious choice on their part, I think it's great that they just went for it. If they went for it and they lost a lot of money and they get to do it again, as long as Sony's willing to let them lose money, great.
Jaffe, can I say something?
Sure.
You seem to always have a problem when gamers get angry and they voice their opinions. Can I ask you a question? Did you get upset at the trans community when they were attacking J.K. Rowling over the Harry Potter game that came out? Do you think they should have shut up?
I don't think anybody should ever shut up, but I don't.
No, because that's what you're saying. You're saying just be quiet and don't buy the game.
What I'm saying is, you said the reason you're doing it is so that these developers hear what you want.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that's not going to do any good. J.K. Rowling, no matter what the trans community said, hasn't changed her mind.
No.
They have a right to shout and be annoying about it.
But they were boycotting the Harry Potter game. Do you think they've done that?
Do I what?
Do you think that they were basically acting like us, obnoxious?
Yeah.
To the developers, to everybody. Do you think they should have done that?
I don't think anybody should be
schooled, my friend.
But no. I think
why is anything that requires on anyone else's part a modicum of thought and respect of answering the staggeringly rare cogent question from you? Why is the sign of me needing to take a minute to make sure I express myself properly a sign of me being schooled?
Because it's clear as day. And I saw you try to do a little wizardry to shift the argument into, oh, well, if they want to, they're not going to change J.K. Rowling's mind. No. We're talking
Okay, well, I was trying to answer your question. I really was trying to give you an answer. Vitaphone, what do you want? But I'm not now because you don't really want to answer.
You're running, my friend.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up. So here's the thing.
Okay, everybody gets one last word, then I got to move on. All right,
Yeah.
Ezekiel 9:11, go.
That's 9/11. Thank you.
I don't know. It's like a verse in the Bible. I don't read the Bible. Ezekiel 20:48, THX 11:38. Ezekiel. I don't fucking know. Go.
All right. So I think I think the point of it, like this whole thing, was like just an understanding, right? People aren't always going to really understand things that they don't know. And the thing is, like, people have to be acceptant of understanding that they don't know what they don't know, and then also discussing that and then getting deeper with that. So I agree with Jaffe on a ton of points. Like, I'm totally pro-gay. I'm totally pro-trans. I don't really like, and that's fine, dude. You do you.
I'm doing me.
You know? And that's like the thing.
Because nobody else will.
But that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't really affect me. Like I can still like talk to you and have a relationship with you, and it doesn't really matter as long as like I know what your boundaries are and like what your like what you accept is. And that
Jaffe,
I think that's the important thing.
Can I ask Vitaphone a question real quick?
Yeah, real quick. But hang on, Ezekiel. Thank you, buddy. Call back anytime, and I hear you, and I agree. I'm with you. I don't care if I liked the way, I don't know if it was you or Vitaphone, that it was articulated. Just like, it's too much for me. Just own that. Just be okay with that.
I said that, and I don't want it in my games. But go ahead, Vitaphone.
Okay, Ezekiel. Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
There.
So I know you don't agree with everything I say, but let me ask you this. Because Jaffe, I think, is running away from what I asked him. Did you understand what I asked him when it came to that question about a Hogwarts Legacy? Do you not think he ran from that question? Be honest.
I mean, I
haven't finished answering the question.
He hasn't finished answering.
All right, go ahead. Answer the question, and I'll go. Go ahead.
Well, no, you finish up, and then I'll answer your question, and then Vitaphone can have that last word. Then I got to bring in
I wanted Vita.
P Turtle. It's not the P Turtle show. I got to go.
No, I wanted Vitaphone's answer on that. I'm good.
Okay, well, Vitaphone. Okay, all right. P Turtle, call back, buddy. I'll see you later.
All right, later, guys.
My answer to the question is that if you take into account the fact that one of the communities is a marginalized community, which is trans folks, and one of them is not, which is, I don't know what word P Turtle would like, but basically non-trans folks, cisgender, whatever, then ultimately I do have more sympathy for the trans folks, because it's not like they have, like the non-trans folks, history of pretty much not being persecuted simply for being cis or whatever, heteronormative. I don't fucking know what the word is. But short of that, though, yeah, I think they often do their cause more harm than good. I think anybody who shouts, but I think there's a fine line between protest and being annoying, because sometimes that's all that works, and crossing the line to the point that you're actually hurting your cause. And I found the J.K. Rowling stuff. I went to my son who's trans, and I says, what do you think about the Harry Potter thing? And he said, well, I don't care if people buy the game. Or I said, would you care if I bought the game? He says, I don't care if you buy the game unless it's clear the money is going to her and she's using that money to harm trans people. I said, I don't think we see any evidence of that other than just she tweets bad, awful shit. And she's going to do that with or without the money. And he says, well, then, yeah, I don't really care. So, that's sort of who I went to. And I was like, okay, well, that's my take on it. But people have a right. I support their right. But, all right, Vitaphone, what'd you want to say?
Okay. So there was basically to wrap up the Last of Us thing, it's not just that it's, an all-stars of kind of the internet du jour of, marginalized peoples. It's also that they killed Joel. It's also that, spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it. It's also that, a lot of people consider the ending anticlimactic because a certain character doesn't do the thing you think they should have done. So it's just too much.
But yeah, but that's bad writing in your opinion. If you
I don't think it's bad writing.
I know. But if you agree with those statements of why you didn't like it, there's nothing woke about those decisions. They just were not well written.
Well, it's to those people, it's not well written and it's woke. So,
but not those specific examples. There's nothing woke in the example of Joel dying or of the ending being anticlimactic.
No, but including a trans character.
No, I know. I'm not saying they don't think there are woke things in it. I'm saying that there are two different issues, right? There's the writing that some people think is bad, and there's the stuff that some people think is woke. And I agree. I think it is woke in the sense of what people say about it. I like woke. Woke is better than being asleep. And frankly, I also agree with you, though, or whoever said it. I don't think it was P. Turtle, that, maybe if you're gonna try to get the ball down the field of progressing the attitudes and hearts and minds, you gotta kind of feed people slowly in small bites.
Well, the 90s we had Will and Grace, and it wasn't every show included the gay characters. It feels to a lot of people right now. I get that. It feels very forced, and I think that there are definitely people that are racist or closed-minded or, transphobic. Those people certainly exist, but I think a lot of people feel this artificial hand and they're reacting to that, and they're uncomfortable with, if you don't live in a major metropolitan area, most of the people around you are white. That's just in America.
They're white and they're straight acting. We don't know if they're really straight, but
sure.
Absolutely. And most of them are Christian too, probably.
The last thing that I would kind of tie up that I actually wanted to mention is you'd said before, do you think would Sony just keep, forcing this agenda if they don't think it's monetizable? And this is a thing that I brought up a couple of times in the past. It's a fact that Miles Morales sold far less than the prior Spider-Man, and Miles Morales is now a huge character in the most recent Spider-Man 2, and a lot of people are called this ahead of time, and it may not come to pass, but they're setting up Miles Morales to be the lead character in a franchise that is, I get that you like Miles Morales.
I don't like him as much as Peter Parker, but I grew up with Peter Parker. I mean, I've always liked Peter Parker more, but I like Miles. He's fine.
They're setting up Miles to be the Spider-Man. They're trudging on, even though they are factually seeing not just diminishing returns, but
I'm not saying you're wrong on that. I've seen the figures that we've all seen, and like I've said before, you've got so many factors that I've been unable with my small non-math brain, and I'm not being self-deprecating. I really can't tell. Spider-Man 1, which was a massive success, was PS4, and then there was a remaster on PS5. There were a lot more bundles because it was out for a lot longer, right? Miles Morales, if I remember correctly, launched on PS. I believe there was a PS4 version. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but it was a PS5 launch title. There was a big shortage of PS5s. And I know Spider-Man 2 is doing better than Spider-Man 1, at least at this time in its life cycle. So But let's assume, though, for the moment, you're right, and they are seeing diminishing returns. Let's assume that's correct.
Just for some facts in there. It sold 11.125 million copies. Miles Morales, and then it says.
Well, yeah. What are you looking at? The digital or the physical?
It says 11.125 million copies, with 36% of those being digital. So,
and when was the date? 23.
Yeah, December
June?
23rd is the report that I'm seeing.
Okay, so that game came out when? In 2020?
I think it was 2019. I want to say
It was a launch title for PS4. That I know.
Yeah, whenever that was. I think it was 2019, but it might have been. Yeah, it had to have been 2019.
2020, into 2020. So you had 3 years for it to make 11 million. And I guess my question would be, how does that track with Spider-Man, the first one? I mean, there's always diminishing returns to the sequel, but regardless, so let's assume for the sake of this conversation that yes, Sony can look at the books and say, for whatever reason, and I know what you're thinking, it's the character. Maybe that's true. I'm sure that plays a part for some people. It's not selling as much. What is your point, though? Let's assume that's true.
Well, my point was just kind of a counter to the, do you really think that Sony is going to keep pushing X, Y, or Z agenda if it's not adding up to the dollars and cents? And
no, of course not. Assuming that you're reading the numbers right, and Miles and Spider-Man 2 and Last of Us 2, maybe, I don't know how to read those numbers, did not meet the expectations. I'm not saying that's true, but let's assume it is. Could very well be. Then yeah, no, Sony's agenda is to make money. Does it want the people who work there to be artists and express themselves? Of course, but that's always been secondary, like any other company that is a publicly traded company, to the fact that they're a business first and foremost. So, I don't think anybody would be surprised, just like I wasn't surprised, and I'm sure you weren't, when Iger stood up and said, okay, we're going to pull back a little bit.
Only surprising how long it's taken.
Fair enough. But so all right, buddy, I appreciate the call, man. All right, I'm gonna get these super chats, but first I want to bring in who is a programmer, just started programming video games at Sony PlayStation. What's up, buddy?
Hello, test.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to answer your question.
Yes. So let me reframe it for the audience who wasn't here. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are a relatively brand new programmer at Sony PlayStation. What are you doing there? Not specifically like what game or what thing, but are you at a high level? Or are you a gameplay programmer? Are you an engine programmer? What do you do?
I'm a gameplay programmer, and I mainly work on like 3Cs.
PCs?
3Cs, like camera control characters.
Oh, I'd never heard that term. Okay, gotcha. Okay, great. So you are a gameplay guy, which means that you could make your own game in Unreal with a couple of people without breaking a sweat. But you've chosen to go into the mega machine that is AAA video games, and I'm fascinated and curious why.
Firstly, I love my job, and I would love doing it in either situation. But there are some things about.
Well, hang on. Yeah. You love your job, meaning you love being a programmer, or you love your job at Sony?
No, like as a gameplay. I love being a gameplay programmer. That's what I meant. I would love doing it in either situation, right?
Okay.
But there's something amazing about working in like a big team where the thing we're making is so much more than like the individual parts that we're putting into it. And I honestly, even though maybe I've thought about this, but I think I appreciate a lot more the process than like the final product itself. I just actually love what we're doing, right? Like the mix of and specifically what we get being at a big company is the being able to use the highest technology, and even us, the code that we're writing, it's very high tech, and like it's not stuff that we would do the same at an indie company.
No, I totally. If you're talking about the process being the main motivator,
exactly.
I get that. Let me ask you, how long have you been doing it?
It's been like 3 years now.
Have you shipped a game yet?
Yes.
Have you had to crunch?
Yes.
When you laugh about that, I mean, is it like bad crunch, or you mean just
No,
even a
not
couple
not
of
bad. Honestly, from what I heard about how it was before, definitely not as bad. But
okay.
honestly, I laugh about it also because I'm young, so I don't even mind it. I actually do really love what I'm doing. So when it got to that point and we just needed to get stuff done, I was like, yeah, let's get stuff done. But I
Right,
understand that people, that some people value more their work-life balance and things like that, and I get that perspective. But I think this is how it gets made.
Right. So when it's great you're calling in, and great you have that experience, because that was my experience back in the day when I worked on games, which was, if you want to be the big dog, you've got to fucking put the time in. I mean, that hasn't changed, is what you're saying, correct?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think about when you hear all these press people going on about, crunch and it's bad and blah, blah, blah? What do you think about that?
I think there's some misconception about, like, making a game is not the same as like making a building, right? Like if you're doing a building, you can plan everything in advance and try to make it so that the workload is balanced throughout, because everything is kind of predictable. But when you're making a game, so much of it kind of emerges as you're doing it, even though obviously good directors and all of that stuff would make it so that you have some sort of guiding star or something like that. But yeah, so much of it emerges as we're doing it, and also it's very expensive and takes a lot of time, and at some point you do have to ship it, and you kind of like, you gotta get it to the point that people will be actually appreciate it. But yeah.
Right. So I know I'm with you a 1,000% on that. I think that makes total sense. Let me ask you one more question, because I get this. To that though, I was going to say, it drives me nuts when they say, "Oh, it's just bad management," and it's like, well, management can only do. I'm not saying that's not true sometimes, but yeah, like you said, when you're making a game, you don't really know where you're going until you get there sometimes, and so management you can manage for that to some degree, but I mean, it's hard when you discover fun. It's like discovering gold. You don't want to just go home and go, well, we got enough gold. It's like, no, we got to make this work.
Exactly. It's when you find that those few things and you're like, okay, this is special and we gotta push it to the limit. You gotta polish it. You gotta make it ready. So yeah, sometimes you kind of find out about something and you wanna we all put our effort together to get it to a certain level of quality. Definitely.
Okay, I have two more quick questions. I hear a lot, and here's my logic. Tell me if this holds from an actual programmer. Another thing I hear in the press a lot that drives me batshit is like unionization. Now, I like unions. I think unions are important. I would have no problem if the video game industry unionized, although it would raise prices, blah, blah, blah. But my argument against it, that it's never going to happen, at least unless there's some weird fundamental change, is people like you, programmers, high-end level people who make a lot of money, that are well-trained, you guys can kind of write your own ticket, just like I could back in the day, in terms of what your salary is and bonuses, and you can go to 20 other companies. Why would you agree that it would be really difficult to get the kind of the programmer top folks and the producers, designers, artists, top folks to agree to a union, or am I wrong about that?
That's interesting. I've got to say I didn't really think about that before, but I do agree that they're like, when I'm listening to you sometimes and we're talking about how games are getting too expensive and things like that, and I am thinking, yeah, actually, especially us programmers, it's a lot of money, and it's because games are getting to reach such a high level of like production quality. That's what people expect today, that this stuff doesn't just happen by itself. We gotta make it, and it's very complicated. And so when you start needing even meet and it's like, us as programmers too, I'm not doing this for the money. Like I could go program in a completely different industry and make a lot more money. I'm here in games because I love what I'm doing. Like it's really because it uses up all of the skills that I've developed. As I love math, I love programming, I love getting the feeling of stuff in games right?
So would you and many of your colleagues, do you feel you guys would risk losing your jobs if it meant the QA department and the really junior folks on teams would get a little bit more of the pie or treated in a way that, you know, they would like to be treated more than they currently are? Do you think that because that's the only way they're ever going to have leverage?
If I had to like answer by gut feeling, I would say no.
That's what I mean. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm saying that I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. Final question, because you're a Sony PlayStation guy. Where do you know this idea that Sony is, and you've shipped a game with them, and I know you don't want to say which game, and I appreciate that. This idea that a lot of these people in the gaming fandom have that Sony is from on high saying, make woke stuff, make stuff LGBT and pro-black and pro-Muslim and pro-Jew and let's anti-white, any or all of that stuff. How much of that do you think, or have you found to be your experience or the experience of people that you work with that make those creative decisions on the teams you work on?
Yes. Well, I'll first preface by saying I'm like very not involved in any of that, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like that's happening at all. It's just like people gotta realize that in any creative industry, this is just a reflection of the people that are writing it. And as you kind of said earlier, a lot of this writing, specifically today in games, is not done by like one main guy who's in charge of everything. It's people like it's a big team usually, especially in narrative-focused games. There'll be a lot of writers in there, and obviously they have a direction and they kind of like work towards the same goal. But it is kind of a reflection in general of how society is shifting. So
yeah, and listen, man, it was a very different time, but that's what I found as well. Final question, Herman Holst, what does he smell like?
So honestly, for me, I'm still waiting to even understand at that level what any of that means. Like, I'm so sorry to be clear.
Are you saying I have to smell him myself? I don't want to get that close.
You're definitely a lot closer than me to doing that.
Hey, buddy, thank you so much for calling in, and I really appreciate that insight, man. I'm sure the listeners do too. Be well, be safe, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, man. There he goes, fellas. Let me get some of these super chats real quick. I appreciate it. We got Monye Smith again. Thanks, buddy. He says, Jaffe, why do you think Sony and other game devs don't make games like they used to? Back in the 90s, 2000, when games were about gameplay, now it's all about graphics or more interactive movies. Well, okay, so that's... If you're just talking Sony, and I'm going to move this just so people can see my beautiful face. If you're just talking Sony, I think a lot of it is because they have found a golden goose that works for them. So it's financially lucrative. And I do think in the grand scheme of things, it's easier to predict the hits. It's easier. I'm not saying it's easy to make those games at all, but it's easier to go, we know what this is. It's a third-person game. It's a narrative. These are the basic mechanics. And it's a melee with some range combat, and it's more of a template that they can put their imagination on top of. So it's been very lucrative, although now it's starting to change a bit as it's getting too expensive if you want to do it at that level, production value. But it's also something that you can get your head around a little easier. But if you go in and say, I want to make a really great arcade racing game, which don't tend to sell anymore anyway, it's kind of like back to what that previous caller was talking about, is you don't really know what the fun is. I mean, you don't know in the other one either, but you've got a much better, well-trodden path by other games. But just to say, let's rip off Mario Kart, but make it better, what does that actually mean? How do you turn that into an actionable item? And you can probably come up in a brainstorming meeting with 20 options, but you're going to be trying a bunch of them and merging them together, and some you thought worked great, but then they stop working when you add something better. It's just kind of it's much more of a needle in a haystack problem. So, but as it gets more and more expensive, to go with the production value as your big goal, you're seeing it. They're having to make adjustments. And when you see a mechanics-based game hit, like a Helldivers, like a Fall Guys, like a Fortnite, the money doesn't stop coming in. right? For the most part. And so in that, I think Nintendo's got it just right. They've always had it right. And I think ultimately the medium is going to correct itself to be mostly what the medium is about. And the medium is about interactivity. And I think we'll see a return to that to some extent. I mean, certainly you see that all the time in indie and AA, but I appreciate the question. G says this is like if Chris Hansen caught a pedophile and then people said it was entrapment because it was for TV. Right. Oh, he's talking about the woman. Yeah, I agree. You're talking about the woman streamer that knew she was going to have this guy say something stupid, and he did, and people are like, well, she did it on purpose. It's like, great. You caught Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, but you were trying to catch him. Well, yeah. But so what? It doesn't mean he's not a fucking murderer. Andreas, thank you, buddy. He says, you read my super miswritten message correctly. I guess you are not just a pretty face. I'm impressed. Thank you, buddy. A, you're right. I'm not just a pretty face, but my God, it is pretty. And B, I'm glad you're impressed. I'm impressed with you as well. Thank you, Andreas, for that support. I appreciate it, buddy. Jojo D has stepped up to the plate as he always does. Come on now, Jaffe, don't be a moron. And he drops 5 memberships to the goddamn Gabbin' and Games. Thank you, Joe. You know I appreciate that, buddy. You are moneybags tonight. Somebody just got paid and told the wife she ain't going to the spa. Gabbin' and Games is on. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it very, very much. Everybody who got a membership from Uncle Joe, give him a pickle tickle and tell him you love him with all your heart and soul. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Anonymous Boss, which I get the reference and I love it. Thank you, buddy. Super Chases, salute to your work, Jaffe. Keep it coming, and salutes to the chat. Agree. Have you ever played Deus Ex 1? If so, I imagine a remake with modern graphics. Deus Ex 1 blew my mind. I'll tell you briefly. Deus Ex 1 had a moment which I had never seen or really thought much about in a video game, which was when you go into the airplane and you're chasing that woman who is the bad guy. And I forget the story. It's been ages. And you could kill her or let her go or something. And I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me I can change the narrative? I mean, and I don't remember. I didn't play it twice, so I don't know what would have happened if I would have taken the other path. But that was the first time I had played a game that was like, this feels like I'm living in the world. And Deus Ex 2, which I didn't like as much, whatever it was called, was that Invisible War? I don't know. But there was a storytelling through gameplay moment that I still to this day think is brilliant, which is when you are going back to your apartment or wherever you're like, I think you're a military guy or something. You're going back to wherever you live. And they reveal that it's all been a ruse and they've been watching you, and the walls kind of fade away and there are people watching from like a monitoring station. And it wasn't through a cutscene. It wasn't through a bunch of ham-fisted dialogue. It was just the walls fading away, told me a story, and gave me an emotion of, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. And it was all done through simply existing in the space of the game, which is really the holy grail to me. So thank you for the chat. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And thank you for the trip down Deus Ex memory lane. All right, fellas. That's it. I'm tired. I think I'm going to go. You know what I started watching the other day was Baby Driver. I'm going to wait to watch with the family, but I really like that. I never saw it until recently. All right, fellas. That's it. All the new members, my goodness gracious. Welcome. All the super chats, thank you. All the members, thank you. All the watchers, thank you. Whether you're here, you're on Twitter, you're on Twitch, whatever the fuck you're in, I appreciate it, fellas. Thumbs up the stream. Tell your friends. Tell your babies. I don't fucking know. You got to tell. Just let people know. Hello, Prince Green. Good to see you, bud. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And then Saturday at some point will be an I Love the Weird. I got it all set up. But I'll do those on weekends because I know a lot. I don't want to fuck up people who come here for this. But Saturdays, I Love the Weird. There's a lot going on in that world. But meantime, though, be well, be safe. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys on tomorrow's Gabbin' and Games, 5 o'clock. Bye, everybody. Oh, and thanks for all the calls today. I appreciate it, guys.